really, really awesome. In the 1 minute 30 or whatever it is, like 1 minute 24 or something, they showed like every few seconds there's a new sort of thing to look at. I think it's really, really awesome. And they are kind of teasing the more indoor areas as well, with the more like stores that we can rob, which would be like a big part of the game. They tease more than just Vice City, so it's probably going to be quite a big map. And I think the sort of there are some leaks that have now kind of been confirmed looking at the trailer, where yeah, the main characters both have more distinct roles and like different gameplay benefits. So Lucia should be more like a sort of hacker person, where she has like um, tracker jammers and like a sort of device that can like hack luxury cars. So instead of like being able to break into every car, you now have to, yeah, there are like tiers of cars that yeah, that you should be able to break into with like different tools. So it's probably going to be very similar to what we know, but like way more depth. There are going to be more tools for heist. So I think it's going to be great. And I think the more like having even a more direct sort of a connection and relationship between the two main characters, I think is going to be very, very interesting. So
yeah,
I'm all in.
I'm very interested.
It's gonna be a year though before we see more.
Yeah, I think so. They've given us a little taste, and now we have to hold out. I thought it looked really good. The Rage engine is just crazy. What is your? We talked about this on stream. I just want to know your thoughts. Do you think this launches at 30 frames for everybody? Or do you think they bring a performance mode too? Or do you think they're just like, suck it up?
For a Series S, it will probably. I think for PS5 Pro, maybe 6. Maybe that's the only 60 machine. That would be crazy. Because we know.
That's my guess.
Yeah. That would be. I think overall though, like just taking a step back, Sony and Microsoft must be like, yeah, like they have like a system seller in their hand if it's not launching on PC, which they are not saying, and it's probably not. Like, and especially the Series S, unless it's like the very obviously the worst way to play the game. That like a they're probably not gonna. Sony usually has the bundle with GTA. So, but if Xbox, like if Phil Spencer goes to the Rockstar office with like a huge pile of cash, like having like a $300 bundle with a Series S and GTA 6, oh man, that's gotta be crazy. Yeah, that would be crazy.
They would have to downgrade it a bit.
A lot of people that might have, because of course like PC gaming always, always the better option if you have like a very beefy machine. But there is another reason now, which wasn't really there last generation, for PC gamers to really go out and buy a PlayStation or Xbox, unless you wanted to play Lost in Part 2 or Ghost of Tsushima or whatever. But now there's like a way more compelling reason for even PC gamers to get a console, and I think that's huge for PlayStation.
But that's why it's all the more baffling that apparently Xbox is not planning a Series X Pro or anything like that.
Yeah,
they're planning like
for sure.
Just a cylindrical Series X basically, but the same power and more storage. Meanwhile, PlayStation is allegedly planning a PlayStation 5 Pro, which I think is reasonable to assume is going to be the only 60 FPS way to play GTA 6, and I would guess that probably is a pretty big system seller.
I'm going to get that bundle.
Yeah,
I'll trade my digital for that.
Jumping or they
and
want
pay the difference.
Best possible, like the closest to PC experience, then they have to get that Pro console. Yeah. It's gonna be. Yeah, it's weird, and Microsoft must have known. So I'm not sure. Maybe
that's why it's such a huge miscalculation. I just don't get it.
Red Dead is 30, right? Yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2. Oh yeah, GTA 6 will 100% be 30.
Yeah. So I mean,
on Pro, it's also not 60.
Do they have? Did they eventually add it though?
I don't think so. I don't think that if you play Red Dead Redemption 2 on PS5 right now, that it's 60. I think it's still 30. But I might be wrong about that.
Oh, that would be interesting, because I mean, maybe they do just offer like a higher resolution and nothing else. Oh, they do say Wolf's Gaming Blog says a 60 FPS mode has been added to Red Dead Redemption on PS5. It's a toggle in an update 1.03. accessed via the options.
No, I think people in the chat are saying that it's only.
Oh wait, no, this is just Red Dead
It's
Redemption.
for the old one.
That's for the PS4 port.
For a version
PS5.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're right.
Yeah. So I mean.
They might just be like, no, suck it up. It's 30. Like, screw you.
And that I think that's crazy though. Like
Wow.
for Starfield, that was this whole like conversation, and I think for GTA, no one will really care. Like they're not gonna be like, ooh. I think but also probably because if they have no load screens for like indoor or everything, and if you have like that many people on the street, I think that already is like a better case for it. But that's gonna be fascinating. If the PS5 Pro is the only one to put, I think Sony should like run to that office. Like, what do you need the PS5 Pro to have this game run at 60?
Yeah.
And that's gonna
That'll be a
wild.
huge selling point. I mean, but that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
crazy thing with Rockstar is that like they really are the kingmakers. Like if they want you to suck up to them, they can do that. And if they also are like, no, we're gonna do 30. We're just not interested. Because like Red Dead 2, if they announced that Red Dead 2 ran at 60 with like a $10 upgrade, people would buy it. I'd go buy it for the PS5. Like I'd jump on that because it's Red Dead freaking 2. But
I mean, it's crazy that it's not there yet. Like, why?
that's the thing, though.
I
Rockstar is just really weird about long-term support of their games. Like they put something out that's amazing and generation-defining, and then they just leave it. They're just like, okay, we're good. Like everybody thought originally there were plans allegedly for a GTA 5 story DLC, and those were scrapped after GTA Online started doing really well.
but I do get that though, because then because the GTA Online profit is way higher. So I do get that, I think, and it's easier to do. And they were probably like I do think they had some sort of single player type or like more narrative focused content in GTA Online. And I remember the Strauss Zelnick, like the CEO of Take-Two, saying, yeah, like we saw a lot of people play the single player content in GTA Online, and that's of course still what they want. Like they want people to stay in that world and not go into the isolated single player mode. So that's kind of the sad reality. But I think having a PS5 box or an Xbox Series box of Red Dead Redemption 2 at a GameStop or whatever, so people when they buy a new console also get Red Dead. I mean, that's GTA still sells a few million copies every quarter. So I just don't get it. And yeah, it's weird. Maybe they really need all the resources for GTA and are like, yeah, we can't miss this technical guy for like a few months to work on this update. But
You just never know. Like they can do whatever the hell they want, and frankly, like let's be honest, even if the only way to play GTA 6 is on console and it's only 30 FPS, we're all still gonna buy it, and it's probably still gonna be amazing. Like, because 30 FPS does not automatically mean the game sucks. I know we've kind of gotten into that mode of thinking because we've had a lot of 30 FPS games that then end up being kind of weren't. But some of the, like, I would argue probably 9 out of the top 10 greatest games of all time launched at 30. Like, 'cause that's just what was standard. And it's only very recently we got used to 60 FPS performance modes. So, I would guess 30.
I don't know. I'm kind of two minds because the Sony games, obviously that's different because they only have to work on those consoles. But games like Horizon that look insane, Spider-Man, they have like ray tracing now with 60. So I do hope that when we move generations, we're not like making some like big jumps, which means that we are once again having to lower the frame rate. But right now that kind of seems the reality, and I think the Series S might be one of the I imagine if GTA 6 did not have to launch on the Series S. I do think that overall, I mean, we heard about it like with Baldur's Gate that they didn't even want to do an Xbox version because they could not get the split screen to work, and now they're launching a version without that for Xbox Series S. Like, I wish this generation would just be Series X and PS5 because I do think some third-party games that could really go like that they will be like kind of hammered by that system. That, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, maybe 50 million people have versus the almost 50 million PS5s that are out there. So that's kind of sad.
I don't know. At the end of the day, it's always. I mean, the consumers will vote with their wallets, and
Yeah.
if 60 FPS is a really big deal to consumers, then they'll support those games, and they won't support the others that only come in at 30. But I mean, at the end of the day, everything is a matter of trade-offs. If you go for 60 frames in the performance mode, you're sacrificing some graphical fidelity, and vice versa. If you sacrifice frames for graphical fidelity on the other side, like playing Spider-Man 2, like at least the opening sequence on performance mode, yeah, it's cool, it runs at 60, but the sand effects with the upscaling technique they used looks really, really bad in my opinion. Like it's very checkered and it just doesn't look very good. Whereas on fidelity, it looks amazing. And then after that section, it's fine to go on performance because you won't really notice that much of a difference. But there's always a pro and con, and it's just a matter of personal preference as to what you prefer and whether that trade-off is worth it.
But I think the discussion is fascinating. If Xbox doesn't do a pro console, which is currently what it looks like,
they leaked their whole lineup and it wasn't there. Like I don't think you can just quickly in a year and a half throw together a pro version of your console. And what somebody was telling me, a buddy of mine who works in software engineering, he was telling me like the reason Xbox doesn't, and he didn't know this for a fact, but he was telling me this is his thought, which I thought was interesting. He said, I don't think that they're doing a pro console because the way they manufactured and designed the architecture of the Series X and S was to use the same chipset basically in their server farms for xCloud
streaming.
And so if they were to offer a pro variant, that would be a different manufacturing process that they'd have to undertake entirely. And then that doesn't jive anymore with the server infrastructure. It would just be for this one piece of hardware that they aren't even sure would sell very well in comparison. I mean, even still, like the Series X is getting trounced by the PlayStation 5, and it's not that big of a performance gap between those two consoles. So it just, I think it's a more complicated equation.
Especially right now if you still don't have a PS5 or Series console, then you're probably waiting for either a price drop or whatever, or so you're probably not running out to buy the more expensive, more powerful Xbox. So they will probably sell even less than this S and the X right now. And then you're streaming, and then you have the lower quality version. So that's not a good selling point either.
Duh, it's a PC. Well, I think that's part of what Microsoft has been playing with, is that they're like, hey, if you want a really high-end Xbox, it's called a PC, and then you can just play all of your games with the Play Anywhere program and play that way.
But not
Problem
GTA.
Is, not GTA. Yeah, exactly. It's like the idea for Xbox was, I think, if it's on Xbox, it can also be played on PC, and because Microsoft owns both, they're happy either way. They don't care if you're playing on Xbox or PC, as long as you're playing through their platform. And if they're just not going to support it, that makes me question, like, okay, does Rockstar, like, does Xbox have some way of getting Xbox copies running through some emulation layer to get it on PC or something? I don't think Rockstar would go for that, but it makes me wonder, like, how on earth does this now vision of Xbox's Play Anywhere system actually work? I don't think it does. Like,
no,
it just doesn't work when you have somebody like Rockstar that's just like, no.
The only possible scenario I see, and it's kind of like a joke, but it feels like paying Rockstar to not have GTA 6 run at 60 on the PS5 Pro.
I don't know how they
don't flip that switch.
Please don't start this.
I mean, there were in the sort of the Activision Blizzard sort of port, it was like that PlayStation was arguing, if Xbox has Call of Duty, then we will not see the same performance updates or like the same sort of we cannot give them information on the next PlayStation, so Call of Duty will run less on our platform. Like that was kind of the so if PlayStation thinks that this is a possibility, then it probably happens. I would think. So but I don't think they will do that, and I do think PlayStation will likely get the deal, but we will see.
It's gonna be fascinating. Yeah, just buckle up, everybody. It's so fun. It's still just so
what
weird.
What if the PS5 Pro already has GTA on the box when you buy it in holiday 2024? That would be so like a nice.
Sony's like, we took out a second mortgage on everything.
if they already can announce when that console launches that it will be 60.
Yeah, well, you better believe
before
they're
the game is out.
PlayStation's genius with marketing this generation, and I will give them lots of credit for this. Like during the Sean Layden era, they kind of had this methodology of we'll pay for exclusivity for a year, and then if you want to play the game, you'll buy it on PlayStation. Easy. What Jim Ryan and his crew realized is that you don't really have to do that. You just have to put all of the marketing with a big PlayStation logo and frame it all as running on PlayStation. And a lot of people won't even realize it's available on Xbox and will just assume it's only PlayStation. And that's what happened with like Hogwarts Legacy. I had friends of mine that were like, I want to play Hogwarts so bad, but I only have an Xbox. I'm like, what are you talking about? You want to play it? I was like, what, really? All the trailers show that Playstation logo.
Yeah, no. Destiny was the same. Destiny was the same because there was also like a PlayStation marketing deal. Yeah, it works. I mean,
those filthy
people
dogs.
like that see the TV commercial and only see PlayStation at the end or Xbox. Like, yeah, obviously you do think that.
Yeah.
Which is genius. But
Yeah.
I don't think if people then actually end up buying the console, the PlayStation, and then are like, damn, I could have bought this for Xbox as well. So it's kind of like, where does it end, right?
Yeah.
Do you really think that? So you're only kind of tricking people, but I'm not sure if it actually means that people are then jumping platform because
Yeah.
why would they?
I think at this point it's just about sustaining the idea that all the games are on PlayStation first and foremost. And for GTA, I think it's going to be the same thing where they will probably try desperately to get those trailers that are running on console to just say, you know, PlayStation, and then they play the trailer, and then they show the console with a little hard disk cover of GTA 6 next to it, and people will just be like, okay, so it's on PlayStation.
Oh damn! I want the faceplates with like the sort of image they had with like the palm trees and stuff.
Oh, that would actually
PlayStation faceplates.
I bet somebody's already made that on TikTok.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let's be real.
Hey, we have the Game Awards. Like for people that are listening to this later, it will probably already have happened, but maybe fun to kind of quickly discuss that. Do you have any like final thoughts on it? Or,
yeah, my final thegameawards.com. My final thoughts. People have seen me on stream. We went through and I voted for each of the categories just because I wanted to get my thoughts out there. But largely, I mean, there's not really that many surprising takes. It's like, yeah, it's cool. It's saving my votes. So like I voted for Baldur's Gate 3 for Game of the Year. To me, it's just we've had an amazing year, but I think Baldur's Gate 3 is not only amazing, it was also kind of a surprise hit for a lot of people, way bigger than anybody thought it was. Whereas like Spider-Man 2, yeah, really good. Resident Evil 4, yeah, really good. But we all expected that. Same with Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, it's amazing, just like we thought. But at least Baldur's Gate was exciting and something people didn't expect.
And I feel that the tail on like Baldur's Gate has been like way longer than like a Zelda. While with Breath of the Wild, it actually it was everything people talked about, even though there were a lot of other big games on Switch. And I think even like Nintendo reported like the sales for for Tears of the Kingdom was insane. But I think in their like previous quarter they only sold like 1 or 2 million copies, which like a significant slowdown. So I thought that was interesting as well. And of course Baldur's Gate is still coming to Xbox, so they will have like another boost. They're still updating it with like new ending stuff. I still have to play it. I don't know when I will because I'm kind of scared for the length.
I mean, it's a commitment, but it's one of those games that once you play it and roll credits, like you're not going to be the same. And I know that's cringy and like funny to say, but like it will change your perspective on what these RPG games can do in a really good way. It's just crazy. So highly recommend it. We'll keep asking you every time we do an episode.
Yeah, and you played it on PC, right? Because,
yeah. I haven't tried the console versions, but I can't imagine it's that different. My wife played a good amount with controller before swapping to mouse and keyboard. She said it was fine. It's a lot of radial wheels. You kind of get used to it, but it's definitely designed first and foremost for mouse and controller, or mouse and keyboard rather. Mouse and controller. Figure that one out. But what's your game of the year?
Of the ones that are here, it's not there. It's not there.
What's yours?
I'm still kind of debating it.
Avatar:
actually,
Frontiers of
there.
Pandora.
Yeah. King Kong. No, no. For me, there was nothing that I think there were so many great games, and my mind jumps to two titles like the Phantom Liberty DLC, and just like the sort of I think just the side missions in that game. We actually did a video on the new update, and I went back to the boss fights because they changed them a bit, which kind of crazy that they are updating boss fights for side missions. Like what other game takes the time to do that? So that's really cool. And then I was like going back to them, and I still remember those stories, and I thought they were really well done. And Final Fantasy 16, I think, for me was really that wow. I was like jaw dropped many times with like the boss fights. It did kind of lose me near the end, but I do think that that game has been overlooked by so many people because of things we already discussed in the podcast as well, like the 16 part. The marketing wasn't that great. While this game should be on in the same conversation as the other big PlayStation exclusives like Spider-Man, Horizon, and God of War, because the sort of budget that you see on screen, and it's like, how can they surpass this? And then an hour later, you're in a new boss fight where you're like, what the heck? I'm watching a movie, and it's like insane. So that kind of comes to mind for me. Spider-Man 2 just wasn't. I wish it was more the Ragnarok moment for me, but it wasn't really there. Still have to play Resident Evil 4. I'm just not a big horror guy, but I do know people have talked about it, and I do think because it's a bit more action focused, I should probably like it. And the same for Alan Wake 2. That's also still on the list. But now with Avatar done, and the next game being Suicide Squad, that will dive really into. I will probably pick at least those two games up. So it might still change if like one of those really grabs me. But for now, I think it's either Final Fantasy or Phantom Liberty.
Interesting. I mean, Phantom Liberty, I totally agree with. For me, the reason I wouldn't toss it in there is just because it is an expansion to a game that launched like 3 years ago. So to me, it feels weird. Like personally, I don't like remakes being considered for Game of the Year. It's just a personal preference. I'm like, most of the groundwork was done years and years ago. I feel like that was the time to win Game of the Year. The remake is great, but like, I love Mafia Definitive Edition. I don't think that game should win Game of the Year because it was a remake of something already done. That's just personal preference.
Yeah, no, I agree. But Final Fantasy should have been there.
Yeah, I think you could swap that in.
Or like Jedi Survivor or something.
Yeah, that's one that really is just not being talked about. Jedi Survivor.
I get it though. I kind of get it though, because the poor state, once again, they did not learn from the first game, and I think we talked about it as well. Like they improved a lot of things on paper, but still, if you really thought about the sort of rewards and it still wasn't that. It still felt more like leaning towards a 1.5 for me than a really 2.0 in my experience.
Yeah,
I think Hogwarts Legacy should have gotten more love as well. Like, I get that it's like, it's not like a game that like is genre defining or something, but I still think the task they had to make a game based on this popular franchise that should be interesting for people that play a lot of games, people that never play games, and that everyone unanimously, I think, that gave it a shot was like, this is pretty well done. Okay, maybe the story did not do it that well, but I think the Hogwarts, like, it's one of the most interesting, I think, open worlds, especially that castle, to just explore and see what happened there. And maybe not the game.
The open world
category.
was
I'm not
really
sure
boring.
was, like,
a lot of cloned caves and
I think
puzzles.
Just specifically, like, adventure game, I think it should have been nominated, and music, I think, is slam dunk. The fact that it's like not considered at all, I think is just laughable, frankly. Like, we're literally talking about the biggest game of the year by pretty much every metric, and you're just like ignoring it and pretending like it's not there because you don't want to juggle the hot potato that is its author. Like, I just think it's silly. I just think it's silly. But
I by the way wanted to talk about the announcement because I don't really care about the awards, but
Yeah, I mean,
that's what
honestly,
I
let's
meant
be
with the
real.
Game
That's where we
Awards.
all are. Yeah. Okay, what do you think
Because
is the big announcement?
it seems like we're getting quite a lot of new game reveals, which is kind of interesting. So we just learned that Supermassive will do a single player Dead by Daylight type game. Supermassive is of course the studio behind Until Dawn, and they of course did the brilliant. I thought it was pretty nice. The 2K game. What was it called?
Oh,
Um,
uh, Supermassive. The Quarry.
yeah, the Quarry. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
I
thought
really
it was,
liked it. People
yeah.
kind of roasted it, but I think Nikki and I played it through like 3 or 4 times, doing all different
nice.
options and choices. We personally, we just love these games. The original Until Dawn game came out back in 2015, and it was like one of the very first games we actually played together with our little friend group. So Supermassive is actually a studio that like me and my very close friend group and my wife, like we've been playing since we first met each other. So I hold Supermassive games very near and dear to my heart. So it's cool to hear that.
And it's cool that even though I think only Until Dawn really sold really well. Maybe the Dark Pictures anthology that they also did still made a profit because you really saw the budget take a nosedive for those games.
Yeah.
I think the Quarry, I think they said 1 million players, but yeah, I don't think that game really set the world on fire. But it's cool that they still get like they can still get to make these games, because I remember also after Until Dawn they were suddenly making this stupid VR game that nobody wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of cool that they get to do what they are good at, and it kind of sucks that Sony did not buy them, because now that Quantic Dream is gone with like Heavy Rain, and I kind of miss that sort of game in the Sony catalog, and Detroit was kind of cool as well. So, but yeah, it's cool that should be coming. Xbox is teasing important announcements. Like they are really, even if you boot up your Xbox, it's like watch the Game Awards. So they're not doing that if they have nothing to show. And last year they were absent, and a lot of people slammed them for it because it was like yet one of the worst years ever with no releases, and you're skipping a major event where you could like tease maybe something exciting. So now they're kind of like they're rectifying that with like some announcements. Like the artists is that they're gonna announce the new Arcane Leon game, which should be Dishonored 3. So that could be interesting.
Wait, what are you saying?
Arcane Leon game, which should be Dishonored 3. So that
Dishonored 3, yeah.
That was of course already leaked. We know there's a new Doom game in development, year 0. This was all leaked thanks to court documents. Like Indiana Jones are going to talk about it next year, so I'm not expecting that. I mean, we don't know what the Coalition is doing. I think Fable's still far away though, because if you look at the E3 they did, we only had like release date or like release years for Hellblade and About, which was 2024, and all the other games did not have a year or whatever. So I totally think it's
I
far.
I think we've seen some people were saying it was debunked, but I tried looking into it on stream and it wasn't really clear if it was or not. But there were allegedly, I'll say myself that way, there were allegedly like Australian ratings for some of the games Xbox is.
Oh yeah, that was fake.
That was fake.
Yeah, that
okay.
was fake.
But even despite that being fake, I still would totally expect we see Hellblade. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox wants to have, and they said during I think June that they were that right now it was looking like they were gonna hit that. Like they want to have a big first-party game every quarter, and it's kind of crazy that they don't have that. Looking at the amount of teams that they have, and especially looking at some of the studios they bought in 2018, 2017 that still have not launched the game. Yeah. But I digress.
Well, I think that it's probably going to be like once they start that wheel rolling, I think we will get every quarter.
Yeah, but so far we have seen that because Starfield was in the second quarter, was like September, or like the third one, and then Forza they had in October. So what is early next year gonna look like? If they have like Hellblade in March, that would be cool.
That would be awesome.
And Avowed is then maybe summer or whatever. So I totally think something like that. So Xbox should be big. I mean, they did announce the Xbox Series X, of course, 1 year before it came out. Maybe they're gonna announce the new one. I don't think they will, but just still want to throw
I mean, it
out there.
already leaked. They could just do a little sizzle reel or something. Just like coming home.
Yeah, but I think then they would really be like, yeah, don't buy a new Xbox or don't buy an Xbox this full year.
That
because
is
there's
fair.
gonna be a better one at
Yeah.
the end. So that's kind of weird.
That's fair.
There seems to be a Tale of Two Sons remake that has been leaked. So
That could be cool.
yeah, we might see that. There have also been like, of course, rumors for Sony that they're doing a God of War DLC or like a sort of standalone game. We might see that. Spider-Man, like we know, Insomniac will be there. There's going to be a big update for the game. Maybe they will talk about that. Like a Wu-Tang Clan action RPG. Did you hear about that?
I did actually. That's not on my bingo list.
No. But yeah, but it seems like there are some rumblings that it might, mean that there's, something related to that. It's interesting. There's like a possible Blade game reveal at the Tokyo Game Show, but there was like this weird. There were like actors like with a blade and then a Ubisoft sort of motion capture suit on. And they were like, it was really strange. And then Ubisoft confirmed, no, we're not making a Blade game. But if that was like a lie, that would have been interesting. But yeah, I'm kind of like looking at the leaks right now. But it seems to be a lot of like new games from studios we maybe not have heard of. Like of veterans that left their big publisher to start their own studio.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of something like that. I hope we get an update on Crimson Desert. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be
That's
cool. Yeah.
probably coming next year as well. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But I do think that we will look at it. There will be some familiar names, but I also think there will be a lot of stuff where we're like, we could not have seen that coming, and oh, that looks interesting, but it's still like this teaser trailer for something that happens a few moments later. I hope that one of those Take-Two games will, like maybe Judas from Ken Levine that we actually saw last year, would be cool to have that again and with a release window. Because that game has been in development or actually since Infinite. Like Infinite was the last game he made, Bioshock Infinite.
Which is crazy. I mean, he's known for like, I think Infinite restarted development like 3 times or something insane like that.
Yeah.
He's
but that still came out like relatively fast after Bioshock 1, because Bioshock 1 was 2000.
I think 8 or 7.
7. Yeah, and then Infinite was 2013. So that's still relatively fast. It's now been 10 years since
I mean, with all this, the Game Awards is going to be really, really interesting. I'm very excited. The other perhaps most interesting thing that's going to happen tomorrow is, just to wrap up the podcast with a huge announcement that I know everybody's going to be super stoked about. Door after what the hell is it called? The day before, allegedly, is still launching tomorrow.
Let's
the developers put
go.
out, like an apology / bragging post. It's really, really weird where they're just like to supporters, thank you for protecting us from injustice and fakes. Like,
Oh my god, this
mean?
game
Like,
is gonna be
they
a
posted this
scam.
before the game launches, and it's just a bunch of really random, weird things. Like, please forgive us for not doing the best marketing and teasers. We learn something new and improve ourselves every single day. Please don't accuse us of scamming. That's not true. Like, you just keep going
This.
over and over.
Oh,
and over.
what? What is? I don't even know what
Post
scamming
this
is.
After the
How do you
freaking
scam?
game
I
is
don't-
out, because
Takes
They
notes.
actually are like going full meta. They are apologizing before the game comes out now, instead of
Yeah.
right after. Before. I don't know, man. Do you think the day before is an actual video game?
I mean they're doing it the day before, so.
Hey,
Uh,
I don't know. Man.
I think it's an actual game, but I think it will be really, really bad. I think it will be like, everyone is like, what the heck is this? And I think it's good that it was like on the top Steam charts. Maybe it still is, because I don't think those things get removed. But I really think, I think it's nice that, the finals is now on top. That's interesting.
That's cool.
Like, I think it's really cool that, or like really good that people grew tired of it. Like, it really did show that what they did, they had such an interesting sort of thing going for them, and they really screwed it over. And even when there were like videos where it was like, oh, this doesn't look real, like some developers were like looking at this footage and were like, there's no like audio for this gun. They're using the same sort of audio for every like shot, while it should be like they really like did like a full like deep dive on why the trailer was probably super scripted. And even then people were still like, oh, I want to play this game. I had people that reach out to me like, I saw the day before, should I be excited? I was like, it's probably not a real game, but you do you. But I do think that after they dropped that Lamborghini trailer and they just kept delaying
it. Was so weird.
The sort of weird name like that someone else was taking their name. It was such a shit show.
And they're openly like, yeah, we don't have employees, we have volunteers. Like the entire game is being developed by volunteers, like a cult.
That's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you have to remind me that this game is coming out tomorrow does show, I think, that it's not on people's radars anymore. And I hope it surprised people, but this really one where I'm like, no, probably won't. It will probably be really bad. Yeah. It will be fun though to see videos with like glitches and stuff.
Oh, I'm buckled in. I'm ready. I'm ready to download it the moment it's ready.
Let's go.
I can't wait to see your video. It's what I feared, or something like that.
Yeah, it's just as bad as we thought. Yeah, or like, what have I done in the past?
It's worse than we thought.
The day before to see.
It's worse than you thought.
And then the thumbnail. Yes. Period.
Yes.
Anyway, do you have any other parting thoughts before we wrap this up?
No. Yeah, I think this. I think you discussed it before we started the podcast as well. It's kind of probably the final busy week of the year, and then next week will kind of be a fallout after that. I'm looking forward to the Mirage New Game Plus update. That's probably coming next week, I think, because otherwise it's like too close to Christmas if they break something. Yeah. Like that's what I think happened with the Christmas event from Valhalla, where Eivor was drunk all the time. They launched it like a few days before Christmas, so they could not fix it. So they had to. We were drunk like for a full month.
Yeah, everyone was out of the
developers. Yeah, they were all like, yeah. So I do think they're gonna launch it next week probably. So that will be fun. But yeah, that's kind of it for this year, and we had a good run.
We had a good run.
We had a good run.
Here, Jacob is asking in chat, do you think the Switch 2 gets announced tomorrow?
No. No way. Because Nintendo still has a lot of other Switch things, and they will do their own event. Like they're kind of the rock star in terms of hardware. They can publish it anyway, and people will go crazy. I mean, we have rumors that it's coming out at the end of next year, so I don't think.
And I think like with most of these big announcements, it's the same thing with like Bloodborne 2. People are like, oh, we're gonna see that there. I think with these huge announcements, they would leak. Like GTA 6 leaked, and that had, I'm sure, millions and millions and millions of dollars pouring into keeping it secret, and it still leaked. So I think if like the Switch 2 is coming, we would probably have heard rumblings about it.
Yeah, and we have rumblings that it's gonna be next year, and I do think like Nintendo already announced that it's not in their current financial year. Like if they would announce it now, they're probably going to launch.
Can I reach all the way up there?
March, February, and we know, looking at their financials, that
nope.
That is not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So they will have a very slow 2024. Like we already know about the Princess Peach game, the Donkey Kong and Mario game, and they have some other stuff. So it's really they're trying their best to not like. For the Wii U and for the other older Nintendo systems, the last year of the life cycle was dry, like there was nothing. So they're kind of trying to not have that. But yeah, I think end of next year. I mean, it was gonna be crazy if GTA 6 and the Switch 2 and Assassin's Creed Red, like that would have been a crazy holiday season.
Dude, we wouldn't sleep.
Oh, I can clean those signs.
But now Rockstar, we will be back next year.
Yeah. Oh, well.
That's Running 2. I see people say that. Yeah, that's probably gonna be there, but I don't really care.
Oh yeah, if you see like, first of all.
Oh, I cleaned it.
Ouch.
Nice.
You just triggered some people. But no, I mean, I think if you see Jeff Keighley get a little teary-eyed and maybe a little emotional, it's probably because Kojima's nearby. So I would say, yeah, the odds are pretty high. We'll be able to tell, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if we get another Death Stranding trailer. I don't know when it's expected to launch. Death Stranding was what, 2019? So it's
Yeah,
about,
so the next year would be ideal, I think.
yeah, that would make sense. So maybe we see it there. I think if Kojima's gonna reveal another trailer, it would be at Jeff's show. They have like a little.
Oh yeah, he was already editing and stuff, and it might be the final Game Awards before the game is out as well. So.
Yeah, I think it just makes sense. They're buddies.
Do
And
you think we will get the Elden Ring DLC?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you want it. Yeah, but we know it's gonna be later than expected. So
Yeah, the
it won't
producer
be out, like,
came out and was like hedging. He was saying, it's, we still have a bit of time.
Actually, in my Game Awards video, I talked about that as well, where I was like, I'm looking at the Bandai Namco financials, and there's no major bump, and they expected only like a slight increase over last year, and they have Tekken, which is gonna be pretty big. So, yeah, there was no room for the DLC. So it's gonna be after March. Like, it might be 3 years after Elden Ring comes out, which is crazy.
I mean,
if
maybe
they
it's
want
just
to.
that epic and massive. I don't know.
Yeah, but why not do Elden Ring 2? Yeah.
Maybe they're working on like engine overhauls or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
They might be finally trying to kick that 60 FPS limit. from
Will
their
that
engine.
still be on PS4 and Xbox One, by the way? That's kind of interesting. I'm
Probably.
not sure if they announced that. That's crazy.
I don't
But
really
yeah,
see them doing a next-gen exclusive DLC like Cyberpunk. Maybe they do. Maybe that's part of the delay is that they're doing something crazy ambitious. But I would be surprised if they did that.
Yeah, but there are some rumors that there's like backend updates to Elden Ring on Steam, so that they're like updating it, that they're preparing something. So it might be that we get like Elden Ring DLC trailer, and then it's like, yeah, but right now you can already blah blah blah.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Proto says there was a leak I saw saying that they were planning 2 expansions, but they decided to merge them together. Grain of salt type of thing. That may be true. But that wouldn't surprise me just because that's exactly what happened previously with other games, so it wouldn't shock me. But anyway, thank you everybody for chilling with us.
Yes,
You all are
thanks.
wonderful. Much love. We will see you probably next week. Talking about Game Awards stuff and hopefully some other exciting things that have happened since then. So thank you everybody for chilling with us. Much love. You all are wonderful and we love you dearly. We'll see you next
Goodbye.
week. Bye-bye.
X and Series S, and if we assume
And you know
this-
there's way more Series S sold than Series X.
I think it's
so-
like a 60-40 split or something like that.
yeah. So there's definitely more RTX 3080 class or better GPUs out there than Series X.
Ouch.
Yeah, and then obviously the Series S is the minimum there. There's probably 100 million
I
PCs that are better
I think
than that.
the reason for this is pretty simple, and it kind of sucks. It's just like Rockstar know they can do this. They're going to do the console version, and then the PC version will become its own event thing, and a lot of people that bought it on the console will buy it again, right? And it'll also get interest, which will spark more sales again on the other they know what they do. They know what they're doing. When you look at the numbers of GTA 5, like it or not, like they know how to get that bag, so to speak. Like they're very, very good at that. And it does suck because it would be really nice to have this on PC on day one. Obviously, it's not going to happen. I'm super curious to see what this means for Series S, though. Like what this will look like on there. Like obviously, it has to work, but. This is going to be a serious push for that system, I think, and it'll be fascinating to see it.
30 FPS target, 1440p-ish res so far on some nebulous
Probably
next-gen console.
whatever.
or
It's
console.
probably a PS5, Xbox Series X target, the trailer,
Right.
I would say.
Yeah. I'd agree with
So
that.
we could assume maybe 720p target.
That sounds really
Series S.
realistic to me, based
If-
on
if
all
they
the
wanna
other
keep-
games we've seen
I feel
so
like
far.
if they're going this hard on these ray tracing effects, they can't really just like rip them out either. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to turn this off." Like, you need a
Yeah.
fallback, and you need to, I'm sorry, art it the right way with the fallback for it to look good. So I think this is one of those cases where they're going to have to make it work. So we'll see what that means.
I think you would really rather have a game that is like visibly softer and blurrier, but still retains the visual character of the higher end console versions, rather than
Yeah.
something that looks like fundamentally different but is a little sharper. I'd definitely take this.
Yeah, and just the amount of extra work they'd have to do to make that fallback version, I think, probably
Yeah.
not worth it just for one machine. So, and I would like to think that they wouldn't make the choices they've made thus far without considering the Series S, right? They know that's an important machine. So, I think everything we're seeing here is going to have to work somewhat, at least, hopefully consistently across them all with differences in image quality. So.
Right.
Yeah. Either way, gentlemen, I think we've talked about this quite enough. We've really pushed the limit of what Digital Foundry's all about here with the way we talk about this trailer. It's
This 1 minute long trailer.
this-
I don't even know how long
like 90 seconds or something, and boy, this is
We did it.
generating content. We have generated content based on this trailer. But it was fun to talk about.
Content.
I'm actually pretty interested and excited about it. Despite, like, that's the thing. Rockstar, they helped popularize open world games, and I've expressed disinterest at many open worlds, but Rockstar knows how to make an open world.
Yeah.
A level.
Well,
This
actually,
place you
GTA
want to
5
go
was
to that's very
kinda fucking
interesting and
sucked.
fun to engage with. They are truly one of the masters of this, and one of the few to truly nail what it means, like the point of the open world, to make this type of experience that just sort of the game world pushes back on the player in interesting ways that just makes every interaction enjoyable to some degree. And that's really hard to do. And a lot of open world games do not do this. So I do have a lot of
For
confidence
sure.
that what they're going to do here will be very fun, very beautiful, and can't wait to see more. And I'm sure we'll have another one of these videos where we dig into whatever scraps we
Trailer
get.
2.
Trailer 2. I'm so hyped for Trailer 2. I can't wait.
Trailer 2, gosh.
Coming 2024, Trailer 2. Maybe Trailer 3 even. I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Either way,
Before 2.
thanks for joining me on this, gentlemen. It was a pleasure.
It was great.
And we'll see you next time.
That are remnants of old design elements or techniques or attempts that just don't work with the current version of the game. So there's a lot of
I didn't hear any rumbling noise.
and weirdness
Watching
involved with it.
GTA
And this is a
videos.
location where that rears its ugly head. Now, in addition, I mentioned that clearing these outposts can feel very repetitive. As I hinted at earlier, the only thing you have to do to clear the locations and trigger a cutscene that serves as certification of the player's activities and efforts is cause the operation at that location to cease proper function. This is simple enough, but in practice it means that you basically just have to stealth your way around the base, turning wheels and knobs, pulling down levers, and hacking various terminals. And even though there are dozens upon dozens of enemy combatants still occupying the complex, a cutscene massive the game is. The world is expansive, and it doesn't actually hold the player's hand very much. Seriously, there are many quest objectives which are simply telling you to go to a rough area of the map and then look for a floating island with purple trees, or to go look at the top of a cliff where there's a waterfall. There's very little guidance given, which is actually somewhat refreshing. However, if you're used to the typical Ubisoft hand-holding nature of quest design, it might come as a bit of a system shock. However, once you get used to it, you'll actually find yourself exploring pretty freely. You'll be running through forests, climbing in the trees, and up and around cliff faces, and eventually flying your Ekron all over the map exploring. And this is good because Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is primarily trying to be an adventure game. And in that pursuit, I think it's pretty successful. Where it struggles is narratively and also in terms of tying all of its loose pieces together in a coherent way. I'm not going to show a lot of clips of the opening of the game because it contains a lot of spoilers pretty much within the first 10 minutes.
Get rid of these
happens,
little
so there's no way to
alien
really show it without just spoiling everything. But I will say there are
notes.
constant fade to blacks in between individual little vignettes of story sequences, very like Redfall-esque. They're fully acted and motion captured and everything, unlike Redfall, but there's little scenes where like a character says something, some lines play out, and then fade to black. And then they jump forward like 3 years, and then fades back in, and everything continues, and then it fades to black, and then it jumps forward another.
Well, that's what the game
and
directors
it's
meant by
really
immersion.
disjointed and very
Fade to black
jarring.
is the
It
best
just
way to
doesn't
immerse
feel
yourself.
very good to play, and I just don't think it works. So for me, like, my first note playing the game was, this opening sucks, and that's my feeling. So I will say the opening is not great. After that, it does pick up a little bit once they stop trying to tell a really deep and emotional story, but it takes a little bit to get going. And of course, you guys know me. These constant fade to blacks I view as just the least creative way to possibly fade between two story beats. Like, seriously, if you ask yourself, what is the lamest possible way I can transition between two parts of a story,
Oh,
it's going to
shit.
be through a fade to black. Even directly cutting is at least a little bit interesting because you have to put a little bit of effort into how that cut happens so it isn't super jarring. Fading to black is just the laziest and most boring way of possibly shifting in a story from one scene to the next. And I will die on this hill.
I could tell
And
from
this will
how
hold
they
up
were
pretty
talking
much
about
through
the game, they
entire
didn't give a
Every time you
damn.
talk to a character or you
Except
transition
just to
into
make a
the
pretty open
cinematic
world,
mode,
get that Avatar
there's
money.
going to be a fade to black, and after maybe 2-3 hours, you get kind of used to it and you tune it out at least a little bit. But it still never felt as good as just walking in like Cyberpunk 2077 directly from first person into a cinematic that is acted out fully, but it's also still gameplay. Like, there's nothing smooth like that. It's just fade to black, fade back in, fade to black, fade back to gameplay.
Awkward.
It just never gets much better.
Did you just
I
fade to
will
black,
say that
bro?
the motion capture and the acting is all generally pretty good. There's a couple of exceptions here and there, but broadly, I was really impressed with how the performances played out, and I thought it looked pretty cool once you were actually in the cutscene. It looked about as good as I could have expected a first-person cutscene to look. There's also some interesting plot lines and stories that they go through over the course of the game, and I think it's pretty well done. I can tell they put a lot of thought and effort into it, and actually when I went to Los Angeles and met with the creators over at Lightstorm and interviewed some of the developers at Massive Entertainment, they described a lot of the research they did for Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, such as researching how indigenous storytelling would have taken place and what kind of the broader themes were, so they tie in some of those, say, folklore and tales from those communities into side quests in the game. So there's a lot of thought and effort that went into this, and I think you can tell. The main quest line isn't anything to write home about, and it's pretty much exactly what you would expect, but thankfully the game doesn't try to act as though the main story is anything too special. Rather, they let the player's experience of just broadly exploring and also completing side activities take center stage, and that's where the game excels. But to transition forward into what is perhaps the most important question, what do you actually do in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora? Well, the game is primarily based around clearing different outposts that are controlled by the RDA, corrupting and polluting the world, just like you would have seen in the films, and then also hunting and foraging for different materials that can be used to either cook different meals for certain status effects and boosts, or crafting different materials to get different gameplay affecting gear that also offers boosts and different perks. You'll also earn skill points over the course of the game, which can be applied to different trees to help you specialize however you want to play. If you really like cooking and foraging and hunting, you can choose to focus on that skill tree first and foremost. And if you want to focus more on the hunter skills to improve, for example, your damage output, you can do that. And all of this is fine, but let's break it down this way. Let's go to each individual activity, and then let's ask the obvious question, which is how does all of this work together? If it does at all. Spoiler, it doesn't really work together very well, but we'll get to that. One of the first activities you are tasked with after completing the prologue section of the game is to clear Tower Echo, which was actually pretty cool.
Nice.
Basically, it's a big mining station,
Autocomplete.
and this RDA location is characterized by the aforementioned pollution and corruption of the world. As you approach it, the color of the world starts to be sapped out of the environment, and you start to see dying plants and animals, and even the sound of the forest changes, which is really, really cool because this game actually uses ray traced audio, meaning if you have a nice pair of headphones, this game, especially in the forest, is going to sound mad trippy. I've been watching Breaking Bad, can you tell? Yo. Mad trippy, Mr. White. Mr. White, the forest is so green, Mr. White. Oh. Seriously, if you have not watched Breaking Bad, it is so good. Go watch it. You'll thank me. You'll thank it's so good. It's so good. Everybody in the comments is going to be agreeing. It's so good, man. It's so good. But all this to say, the immersive element of these RDA locations, I think, is done really, really well. And after you clear these locations in a way that I'll describe in just a moment, you actually get to see a real difference once you've cleared out that area and the nature begins to take it back over time. Like right here, you can see an area of the map that I've previously cleared, and you can actually see Pandora taking it back over. And I thought that this was just freaking awesome. It's so cool. Like the idea that nature reclaims the location after it's been polluted and everything. It's just coming full circle. Beyond this, there's not a whole lot that happens. It's not like they add a ton of different vendors or the locations become super unique. You can see my Ecron ate a fish out of the water there because I flew close enough to it. But again, just a really neat touch thematically, and it works really well with the lore of the world. You can of course also see some little vertibird things popping into the screen randomly. No shocker there. There is a little bit of pop in and some clunk. That's one thing I noticed in my early access previews, and it's still in the game now, but it's not that big of a deal, just thought I'd point it out. But the point with all of this is that immersion-wise, the game is really, really good at what it's trying to do, which is to make you feel like you're actually exploring Pandora, the same world, though a different area of it that you saw in the films. But to get specific about clearing these outposts, as expected, it's a critical element of the gameplay loop. And also, as expected, it can grow quite repetitive as the game goes on, since there's not a lot of variability here. You'll largely be doing the same exact thing over dozens and dozens of outposts. There are some cool exceptions that I won't go into for spoiler reasons, but in general, you will be going to outposts which are based around some sort of polluting process, such as an oil refinery or some sort of mining operation, and then you'll be tasked with completing various objectives, usually in the form of shutting down valves, destroying generators, breaking the coolant system, or something else.
Gotta go
all to
slow
cause
on the edge of the
industrial
roof.
operation in
Gets
question
crusty up
to
here.
break and force an evacuation of the facility. It makes sense narratively, and there are some really cool things they do in terms of player feedback that make this more than just your standard checklist objective. Namely, each of these locations is a center of pollution in the world, and it can greatly affect what you can forage in that area, what loot can be collected, what animals can be hunted, etc. However, once the area has been cleared and the pollution has been let up, there's no more polluting force, and so Pandora can slowly reclaim that part of the map, allowing you to then forage in that area or collect the animals that may be native to it. And this is a really cool concept because it encourages or collect the animals that may be native to
Oh,
it.
collect the animals. You can collect the animals? Thought you just hunt them.
Since it'll give them access
And you
to
ride a few of them.
items. And again, this is really cool to see.
I can
because
collect
this
their
is one
heads,
element of the game
hang them on my
mainly
avatar wall.
Clearing these outposts that's tying into a different gameplay system in the form of foraging and then cooking and crafting. So you have two different areas of the gameplay loop that are actually creating a loop and hopefully feeding back into each other. You want to craft, so you go and clear the outposts to get access to new stuff to forage, which then you can use to craft, which if you want to continue crafting, you have to do this, and it just spins and spins and spins. So this was really cool when I saw that it at least seemed like it could work well in tandem. However, clearing outposts is not all sunshine and rainbows. The consistency of difficulty
What?
is really
No.
close. Some areas you will be exploring, and if you
I wouldn't mind clearing outposts if they were interesting.
You can be Or
if each of them were unique, had a theme, different colors and shit. Maybe like some like, I don't know, choice and consequence, either take it over or destroy them all.
So sometimes you're just confused why
with this avatar, you have to destroy them. It could be interesting. Maybe they could make the game where you start getting human allies. You gotta take over the outpost, and you could carry your soldiers with you, your human friends with you to fight.
And it's just another example of
everything I've seen in this game, you're just by yourself all the time.
Like the developers have been
in combat.
For so long that
obviously, cutscenes, they're not gonna leave you alone.
It's like you're
That's sad.
paper in college or high school, and you think it's really good, or maybe it sucks. You have no idea because you've been working on it so long. You're not able to take that outside perspective, looking at it objectively. And I think for them, it's a similar thing where this game has been in development for so long, going through so many countless revisions on the part of Disney and Lightstorm, that there's just a lot of things that are remnants of old design elements or techniques or attempts that just don't work with the current version of the game. So there's a lot of just clunk and weirdness involved with it. And this is another occasion where that rears its ugly head. Now, in addition, I mentioned that clearing these outposts can feel very repetitive. As I hinted at earlier, the only thing you have to do to clear the locations and trigger a cutscene that serves as certification.
Gotta clean the rest of the porch? Does that include the roof?
At that location to cease proper function.
There's my chair
this is simple enough, but in practice it means that you basically just have to stealth your way around the base, turning wheels and knobs, pulling down levers,
finish
and
the bottom
hacking
floors
various
first
terminals.
And
even though there are dozens upon dozens
did
of
all this,
enemy combatants still occupying the complex, a cutscene will still play showing that you've accomplished the arbitrary checklist of objectives, and then all of those enemies are just off to do. And you think it's really good, or maybe it sucks. You have no idea because you've been working on it so long. You're not able to take that outside perspective, looking at it objectively. And I think for them, it's a similar thing where this game has been in development for so long, going through so many countless revisions on the part of Disney and Lightstorm, that there's just a lot of things that are remnants of old design elements or techniques or attempts that just don't work with the current version of the game. So there's a lot of just clunk and weirdness involved with it, and this is another occasion where that rears its ugly head. Now, in addition, I mentioned that clearing these outposts can feel very repetitive. As I hinted at earlier, the only thing you have to do to clear the locations and trigger a cutscene that serves as certification of the player's activities and efforts is cause the operation at that location to cease proper function. This is simple enough, but in practice it means that you basically just have to stealth your way around the base, turning wheels and knobs, pulling down levers, and hacking various terminals. And even though there are dozens upon dozens of enemy combatants still occupying the complex, a cutscene will still play showing that you've accomplished the arbitrary checklist of objectives, and then all of those enemies are just automatically despawned. I understand why it works.
That's immersion. What are you talking about? They want players to feel truly immersed in the Avatar universe.
Especially in some of the late game areas where there's a flood of enemies around all of the compounds. However, in spite of that, it did tear me out of immersion every once in a while to know that all I have to do to clear the outpost is turn a wheel, even though it's surrounded by 10 guys in huge mech suits. And this was something that did happen. I was playing the game, and there's all these guys in massive mech suits just sitting around that one lever I have to pull. So what did I do? Did I take them all out with extreme tactical precision and clear the base and eliminate all the enemies? I could have done that, but no. Instead, I hucked a bunch of stun grenades over the wall, jumped down while they were still stunned, turned the gear to finish that checklist.
No shit.
And right as they started shooting me, you see the cutscene triggers. It plays the little thing showing, oh, look, full evac in progress. We're in the air. And the base is clear. And then you'll see right as this cutscene finishes, I'm fine, even though clearly I was about to be murdered, and rightly so, because I jumped down in the middle of all of these huge mech monsters. But it doesn't matter, because I finished the checklist, and that triggers the cutscene, which allows me to clear Oil Extractor Alpha or whatever.
Oh, look at that spread! Holy shit!
People won't really mind it or care.
God damn!
But for me, it did kind of tear me out of
power,
it and make me feel much more like I was playing a video game.
Holy shit!
I could go on effectively a Robloxing myself mission to clear out the final checklist item in order to trigger the cutscene, instead of playing it the proper way, which would be to try and distract them or pull aggro somewhere else so they pull away from the lever. Again, it's a small gripe, you might not care, but for me, it was really frustrating to be really immersed in this one way with the world reclaiming locations and clearing this, lifting the pollution so you can hunt and forage and gather, and that's super cool and helps me be immersed. But then the act of clearing the location tears you out of any sense of immersion you have. It's just constantly like, it does this well, and then this part of it, it just doesn't do well. And they kind of level out and just leave you feeling meh. But all that being
Wooden
said, I
trim.
did generally enjoy clearing out these outposts, but after just 5 to 10 hours of the game, I was already growing frustrated with the lack of enemy variety and with the overwhelmingly repetitive tasks you were being handed. There's a couple variants of grunt soldiers, a few variants of the mech guys, there's a lot of varied wildlife to fight, there's some flamethrowers they toss in here and there, but generally, there's not a lot here to shake it up. It's gonna feel the same playing the game at 10 hours versus 20 versus 30 with a little bit of variability here and there with boss fights and things like that, but generally it's pretty samey. And let me be clear, this makes a lot of sense. When we were in Los Angeles and talked to the developers, they were clear that whenever Ubisoft Massive wanted to add, say, a flamethrower archetype enemy for the player to fight, they had to go to Lightstorm, pitch that to them. Lightstorm went off, came up with some ideas, maybe some sketch art, whatever, and then they brought that back to Massive. Massive looked at it, they did some concept art, they brought that back, and this went back and forth. Each time it took a week.
Should have been using this thing, god damn.
And so just to get like a grunt concept of a flamethrower guy would take a month or two. And then they go through the process of actually modeling it, and texturing it, and all of that has to be approved by Lightstorm and by Disney executives and everything. So every little bitty piece of this game was no doubt held up by those iterative approvals and things that had to happen, which on the one hand is really cool because it means everything in this game is approved and is part of the Avatar universe. Everything in here is theoretically canonical, basically. But on the other hand, it's frustrating because it feels like there's a lot of stuff that they could have just quickly tossed in the game or shaken it up with that isn't here because they were held back by some of those approval processes that slowed down development. I did try to ask them directly if this hampered development or frustrated them, but they were, in all of the interviews everybody there was able to do, all of the developers were surrounded by PR representatives that kept them on a pretty tight leash, so they weren't allowed to really speak freely. But I'm sure if you were able to corner one of them and just ask them candidly, hey, did this kind of slow down development a little bit? I'm sure they would tell you yes. Because let's be honest, of course it is. Like, of course, if you have to go through 15 approvals to get something to actually start the process of happening versus just doing it, it's
There we go.
And I think that's why
No
enemy
more
variety
alien
is pretty
graffiti.
limited, and while environments and locations are super cool and much more varied in the game, one of the core gameplay elements here is combat, and it unfortunately just isn't very robust. There's not very many weapons. There are different attachments that can be found or crafted and collected from various vendors, which give you perhaps more damage output or improve your stealth capabilities.
15% critical hit? I love that.
Power level, which improves
Loot box
your
potions.
consuming general damage output and health modifier, but it's all pretty minimal, and compared to the vastness and scope of the game's world, it feels very, very minimal in comparison. But you know what? All of this brings me to perhaps the most important question when it comes to the gameplay, which is how does all of this tie together? Well, foraging is pretty much what you would expect. You go and you collect different items from the ground or trees or whatever. You pluck it with a little mini game, and then you put it in your pocket, collect it, maybe bring it back to a stash, because of course there's an inventory system in this game, because for some reason developers think that's fun. It's like the worst thing Bethesda Game Studios ever did was normalize carry weight and limited stashes in open world adventure games. It's so stupid.
No way, there's a carry weight?
Because in my mind, there's nothing really fun about tracking like how many slots in an inventory of 12 slots you have available at any given time, and then you have to stop adventuring and exploring.
It's my favorite part of Avatar. It's just like the movie.
Limited store. Like, It's just not fun to me. But that's
Customize your avatar
Pet peeve.
inventory.
And then beyond this, there's hunting, where you'll go and actually track down different animals in different locations, which can be located in different areas of the map based on your hunter guide. And depending on time of day, they might be in one area or the other. And depending on whether you hit them in a weak spot versus with like a machine gun, the quality of their pelt or meat might be totally different. And so there is a little bit of depth to the hunting system as well. And this is something I will hand them. I mean, they took something like foraging, which in like Assassin's Creed games is just mashing triangle or Y on the controller while you're riding your horse to automatically pick stuff up on the ground. And then they went over to Avatar Frontiers Pandora and actually added some depth to
Fuck
it.
is
If you want to
blocking
pick this
me?
fruit, you need to know that that fruit has to be plucked in the proper way, and it also needs to be plucked at nighttime or while it's raining
Oh my
or
god, this
whatever else.
bird
to get the
shit.
most supreme, premium, whatever.
What is blocking?
quality of that item you could
What the
possibly
fuck
get
is
to get
behind
the
me?
most high quality crafted or cooked item out of it. And I think that's really cool to add
Something
depth
always
to
blocking
what
me when
would
I'm walking on a
otherwise be
roof,
very grindy
trying to walk
system. I think that
backwards.
this is a huge step up from what Ubisoft typically does with these types of systems. But here's the Achilles heel
Yeah,
of
right here. What
Avatar
the fuck?
Frontiers of Pandora,
God
which
damn
is
it!
that
I'm getting
all of these
stuck in the
systems
bird.
are
Am I
kinda
getting
cool
stuck in the bird
by
shit? Is that it?
themselves. The pollution system, cool by itself. When you hear
No.
it, you're like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, that area has to be cleared because then plants can then grow, which you can forage. That's interesting, and you can't forage that in another spot, so you have to clear it in that area to get it. Cool, that makes sense. Or hunting. I need to hunt this animal at this place at this time of day in order to get the best quality version of it. That makes sense. Or same with foraging. All of these systems by themselves and individually are interesting and I think relatively deep. But when they come together, the reward to the player is a cooked meal with a status effect, or a crafted item that's made using, like, say, 3 roots and then a certain type of animal claw that you find. And depending on the quality of the items going in, you might get a better, basically, dice roll of stats coming back out. And that's all well and good, but the thing is, the game's difficulty is so inconsistent, and the status effect buffs are so minimal and frankly confusing that there's very little reason to ever really engage with it beyond just increasing your total energy bar with meals that you cook, which allows you to regen health if it happens to drop during combat. Other than that, there's almost no reason to engage with cooking. To put this more simply, if you're playing Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and you're looking at the screen playing this gameplay footage you see right now, if I told you, oh, you can go and for 10 minutes collect items to get plus 9% stealth, would you do that? I'm guessing the answer is probably no, because what the hell does 9% stealth increase even mean? What does it mean? 25% faster reloads on
You
your
know what it
rifle
means.
for 5 minutes.
We
or to be able
gamers,
to
it's a gamer thing.
sneak faster and crouch, crawl
Oh, the
faster
gutter. I gotta get
for
that.
2
God
minutes.
damn
Like,
it.
all of this is like, okay, I guess it does affect
Oh,
the
it's stopping
gameplay,
me from
but it's
walking
not a
across off the
significant
roof.
enough
I
boost
think so.
to the gameplay or to the player's abilities for it to really feel impactful. At least
I
for me.
really
I
gotta
never
get in
felt
these gutters.
like I
These
was
are hard to
playing a
get.
mission and I went like, oh man, if I just had that one meal to give me 5 minutes of increased stealth crouch speed, I could have done this way easier. That would have been great. Not once did I think that. Every once in a while, I would craft a meal, or rather, cook a meal, and then I would see it had a status
Getting my
effect. I was
ladder
like,
back.
okay, it's cool, whatever. But it's nowhere near like the level of detail in, say, Red Dead Redemption 2, or even Breath of the Wild, where you're crafting stuff that gives you like,
Bro,
say,
just climb on the
ability
ladder.
to go into cold weather without the need for super special clothing, like in Breath
just
of the
staying on
Wild
the
and
ladder.
Tears of the Kingdom. There's nothing like that in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Rather, it's all very little boosts using stats that don't really mean a whole lot, and it's just not that interesting. And this was really disappointing to see because, as I said, each of these systems individually is relatively interesting, but when they tie together, the reward given to the player is just frankly lackluster and
Oh,
uninteresting.
shit.
So much so that a lot of players, I think, might cook a few meals and then never touch the system again. Which is really concerning because when I asked Drew Reckner, who is the lead game designer of Avatar Frontiers Pandora, he is like, in his own words, he said, if it has anything to do with gameplay, I'm the guy. That's Drew Reckner. And when I interviewed him in Los Angeles at that press event in the middle of November, he said that the feature people weren't paying enough attention to with Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and the system that he thought would tie the game together for people, was the cooking system. And to hear that, and to now play fruit out there in Pandora, and it can do that,
What the
or
fuck is
perhaps
that?
the ability to just like double or triple your health bar, or to give you an insane shield that makes you basically invulnerable for maybe 15 seconds or something from the point you take damage. Something like that, which has a super noticeable impact on gameplay, such that you will likely want to go grind it out, craft those items, and then forge those other items, and then cook it all together. I think that could have been really cool, but unfortunately, the vast majority of meals that you actually can cook are basically forgettable. It's going to be like, yeah, it refills your energy bar so you can recoup your health, and then it might give you plus 15% aiming accuracy.
Oh,
Whatever
wow.
that means when you're using a bow and
That's
arrow
great.
and a rifle that has bullet spread. Like, okay, cool. 15%, love it. But let's stop whining for just a minute, and I want to call out a couple of things that are really, really cool. And that's namely the localized weather system and the density of the forests that you'll be exploring.
Man, we already
The
know about
localized
that.
weather is super flippin' cool. When there are rainstorms in the game, they are actually generated by clouds within the map. And this means that you can either travel outside of the storm's radius as it blows through the map to escape the rain, or you can just straight up hop on your Ecron and fly straight
I'm not
up
impressed
through
by
and
like
above the
dynamic
clouds,
weather and
just
shit.
like
I was
Microsoft
more
Flight
impressed with
Simulator, to look
the
down on the weather
gameplay,
systems beneath you.
info-
And again, this is something that's
gameplay,
usually only seen in
AI.
heavy simulation-like games like Microsoft Flight Simulator or Red Dead Redemption 2 during that hot air balloon sequence, but it's not something you typically see in a massive open-world game like this, so I thought it was really, really cool. And it's something I've alluded to previously, which is just simply the density of the world here. Seriously, I don't think I've played a game with so much freaking detail and vegetation in the open world. It's crazy. If you just stand in the forest, put the headphones on, and take in the ambient sound and the beautiful display of colors and vibrancy, it's going to blow you away. There are so many plants blowing in the wind. There are so many different trees and animals reacting to your movements. It's wild. And in a lot of ways, I think the game in this respect lives up to the hype of it being the first truly next generation Ubisoft game. I think it really frankly is, at least in terms of the forest. Other things like the constant fade to blacks during cutscenes tear me out of it and feel like they belong in a game 10 years ago, but at least in terms of the forest while you're exploring and stuff, it is really, really cool. And in my experience, the game actually ran pretty well. It's certainly heavy, and if you want to push it to its limit, you absolutely can. And the only technical issues that I ran into were pop-in, as I mentioned earlier, and according to my notes, every 4 to 5 hours of gameplay, I would run into an occasion where the game would just freeze for a solid 5 to 10 seconds, and then continue operating like nothing had happened. It was really, really odd. I can't think of a time when that's happened previously. I don't know if that's DRM. I don't know if that's some sort of graphic driver issue. I don't know. It was just like you're playing the game, getting 120 frames, and then it freezes for 10 seconds, and then comes back at 120 frames like nothing happened, didn't skip a beat. It was really, really odd. I don't know why I did it, but again, it was pretty rare
Hidden
for me,
loading
so I don't know if I'm
screen.
the only one, but generally, the game
I'm
seems
playing.
pretty polished. But all this brings me to the broader conclusion after spending a good chunk of time with the game. As I mentioned, I'm going to be playing a lot more of this game over the next week or two because I'm interested in it and I'm still having a pretty good time with it, even if it has a lot of these janky things or clunkiness that I don't think works very well. I'm still interested in the world and there's interesting things to find. But as I mentioned at the top, I think it's a fine game. It's a solid C. I haven't had any experiences that I would call downright bad. There's clunkiness, there's things I don't think work very well together, but it's still a video game that I'm having a good time playing. I might not be thrilled if I paid, say, like $100 for an Ultimate Deluxe Edition or whatever. But honestly, if you were to play the game through Ubisoft Plus, which I believe the game is coming to, and I paid like $15 for my subscription and I got access to the game, I would think that that's probably fair. And if you get it on a sale or something, I think that's fair. And if you're really interested in Avatar, I think full price makes a lot of sense. I just think if you're looking at this, hoping for a really novel, innovative first-person shooter, you're probably going to leave pretty frustrated and disappointed. But if you're looking for the chance to explore the world of Pandora as created by the mighty, magical Mr. James Cameron, then this is a great opportunity to do that. And while it's far from perfect, I'm having a decent time with it, and I think you might as well. But like I said, it's the middle of the night, so I'm going to send this off to Jacob. Shout out to Jacob for the late night editing session. I'll let him get to this so he isn't up all night working on it. But thank you all for watching. I love you all dearly. Never think I take you for granted. I really do appreciate every single one of you. Let me know what you think of Avatar, if you're going to be checking out the game, or if this is just a pass for you. I think there's no wrong answers. It's just depending on whether it looks to tickle your fancy or not. But with all that, thank you for watching. I love you all dearly, and I'll see you in the next video. Hugs and kisses.
The holidays are here, so get the gift that you know everyone needs: premium wireless audio. Raycon's range of high-quality, affordable audio products are the perfect gift for your girlfriend, your dad, or even your nan. Get 15% off your order when you visit buyraycon.com/skillup. Click the link below to check them out, or stick around to the end of the video to learn more. Gamers, wherever you are, I hope you're doing well. Personally, I'm over here in Hell A, staring out my window at the crypto arena, remembering that Matt Damon crypto commercial. I get teary-eyed every single time. He's so brave. That bubble may have burst, but the Game Awards hype bubble is still swelling. Just a little while after this video goes live, I'll be in the Game Awards audience, ready to leap out of my seat and crash tackle any fools who want to get cute with a microphone that doesn't belong to them. Will I accidentally tackle Sven Vinky as he stands up to accept his Game of the Year win for Baldur's Gate 3? You'll just have to tune in to find out, I guess. A bit of housekeeping for this episode though. You may notice some changes in sound quality during this video as I'm recording on different mics at different locations, but that's what it's like when you're putting a show together on the road. Secondly, you'll likely notice that this episode is long. That is for two reasons. Number one, I wrote it on the plane, and Australia is very, very far away from everywhere else, and it turns out that if you just keep writing for 10 hours straight, you can write a lot. So that's what we've got. And second, and I'm not sure if you've heard, but a little game called Grand Theft Auto 6 was revealed this week. I'm sure most of you are unfamiliar with that series, but don't worry, you're in the right place because this is This Week in Video Games, and here comes the biggest reveal of 2023. Wait, what? What the hell is this? Why isn't he playing the trailer? Why is he using stills? I'll tell you why. It's because Take-Two are the only publisher on the face of the earth who will claim all of the ad revenue from your YouTube video if you use their official trailer footage. I've learned that lesson the hard way many times over the years and eventually reverted to using stills. I will leave a link to the trailer below so you can see it for yourself, but let's be real, you've already watched it like 18 times as well as 14 different YouTube videos analyzing it, so I ask you, what the hell are you doing here? I'm just joking, of course. I love you. Thanks for stopping by. So to tell the story of the GTA 6 trailer reveal, we need to go back just a little bit. In the beginning, there was nothing. But then some space stuff happened, and a while after that, humans existed. And some of them thought it would be pretty cool if you could beat up random strangers on the sidewalk and explode things. But since those things were illegal and those people didn't want to go to jail, they settled on making a video game where you could do all of that stuff and other things involving working girls that I can't describe here or get demonetized. Those people to Fast and the Furious 6 back then, and now what are we up to? No one knows. But what we do know is that the hype for GTA 6 has been building that entire time. Everyone wondering where Rockstar would take both their franchise and the medium of video games next. The wait had plenty of speed bumps along the way, not least of all the, waiting. Previously, Rockstar had put out games every 1 or 2 years, but GTA 5 was making so much money through GTA Online that Rockstar was in no hurry to get GTA 6 out the door. Then, of course, came the leak. Last year, someone managed to hack into Rockstar's system and pull a bunch of in-development gameplay files from their servers. They quickly uploaded them and people confirmed that they were real. They looked fine-ish. It was early build stuff, so it had lots of game dev stuff overlaid and the visuals were by no means final. These aren't the right things to showcase when you want to reveal something you've been working on for nearly a decade, so the leak definitely hit Rockstar pretty hard, and it was kind of nice to see the gaming community rally around them in support. Regardless of how much or how little of the leaked footage you saw, the leak whet everybody's appetite, and people were ravenous for more info. They'd get it, but not before 2 more leaks. The first happened just this week, and it turns out the person responsible may have been the son of one of the lead developers. I'm not going to report on the name because children are involved, but whoever it was uploaded videos to TikTok showing shots of a GTA 6 cityscape. If it was the developer's son, I suspect Christmas is cancelled for him this year. The other leak happened just yesterday, and it was for the full Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer that someone had got hold of and uploaded early. It went on a burner Twitter account, and because this person is all class, they emblazoned it with the words "Buy BTC" with this obnoxious watermark. And you know what? It fucking worked. The price of Bitcoin went up. Though to be fair, it probably wasn't because of this joker. And if you know why it did spike, please feel free to not tell me. I don't care. With the trailer out and already amassing millions of views, Rockstar had no choice. Quote, "Our trailer has leaked, so please watch the real thing on YouTube," end quote. And boy, did we. The GTA 6 trailer is among the fastest viewed YouTube videos in history. And I'm not talking 2x speed, I'm talking 70 million views in less than 24 hours. The only way it would have gotten more views is if it had debuted on Mr. Beast's YouTube channel. I bet you he's in GTA 6, by the way. Aiden Ross is apparently in it, so if they're gonna put him in it, they'll put fucking anyone in there. As for the trailer itself, it's pretty incredible, not gonna lie. I feel like we've reached a point where graphical fidelity no longer really impresses us all that much. Not in a meaningful way that makes you do a double take like we used to in previous console generation leaps. But this trailer, man, like, this all gameplay trailer, most likely, this was a moment where everyone who saw it was like, holy fuck, including LeBron James. I love the response to that tweet, by the way. The guy's like, "Bro, trying to get early access." So true.
I saw that one.
Shoot your shot, King James, and Godspeed to you. There's a huge amount that can be gleaned from this trailer. Too much to break down here. But yes, it is set in Vice City, only now we're pulling back to encompass more of Florida's overall craziness. The Florida Man meme is so strong that it has crossed into the mainstream collective, and GTA 6 appears to be the Florida Man simulator, complete with alligators and so much twerking that I feel like they're going to have a dedicated twerk button on the controller. Beyond that, it does confirm the dual love interest protagonist thing, channeling Bonnie and Clyde with a modern social media infused twist. There seems to be the same biting satire, irreverent parody, and sexual suggestiveness the series has always been known for, as well as the violence and the cars and the crime and all that good stuff. It really does look genuinely amazing. It's just a shame that it ain't coming anytime soon. We were hopeful that this would release in 2024, but it turns out it's likely to ship in Q1 2025, as the title is locked for a 2025 release date, but publisher Take-Two have been very vocal about the fact that they should expect a bumper year, and their financial year concludes March 25. Most disappointing, the game is not coming to PC on day one. Consistent with Rockstar's
poor
previous
PC
release
guys.
status that gives them the ability to double dip, selling the
What are you
same
gonna
game
do with your
twice to PC
$10,000
audiences who
PC
couldn't wait
now?
for a port that's probably going to take a good 18 months to 2 years at least. It is a bummer, but Rockstar gonna Rockstar, so what are you gonna do? And there you have it, GTA 6. It's right there. Or at least it will be in 2025. Until then, expect a trickle of news and gameplay reveals that are sure to keep the YouTube creator ecosystem afloat. Just watch out for all the clickbait. I've seen some of it and it's definitely pretty wild out there. I'm sure Jeff Keighley would have loved to have gotten his mitts on that Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer, but sadly for him, it wasn't meant to be. No problem though, he can console himself with the dozens of other trailers and world premieres he's sure to have rolling at the Game Awards in just a few short hours from now. One thing to note though, Jeff Keighley has made clear that security for the event has been tightened up, with the express intent of avoiding any more dickheads running up onto stage to grab the mic. You guys thought I was joking about being on standby to crash tackle fools? But Jeff Keighley's got me on retainer. On-stage security may be the least of Jeff's problems though, as recently the awards themselves have gotten Jeff into a spot of hot water. There's been a lot of discussion about the indie category, since a lot of the games in there aren't actually indie titles. The term indie in the stricter sense means independent, so that's a studio both developing and publishing their game without the help of a dedicated publisher. Of course, that's not how we actually use the term. We call Devolver games indies, even though Devolver is a billion-dollar publisher, and publishers like Raw Fury, Team 17, and scores of others we broadly refer to as indie labels or indie publishers. It's kind of an oxymoron, but that's how we use the term. So this year, there's a game called Dave the Diver, which is kind of a shoe-in for best indie game. If you've played it, you know what I'm talking about, because it's genuinely incredible and hands down one of the best games of the year, indie or not. The problem is that it comes from a studio called Mint Rocket, who aren't actually a studio. They're an internal first-party team within Nexon, a large-scale billion-dollar publisher. So is Dave the Diver an indie? Obviously not, but Dave the Diver has pixel graphics and it sells for like $30, so we call it an indie. That shorthand is generally fine, but when it comes to awards, it does actually matter. There should be an awards category that recognizes truly independently made games, because it's incredibly difficult to not only make a game, but also publish it. The studios that manage to pull that off shouldn't be competing with studios aided by the deep pockets and infrastructure of an established publisher. Despite this, Dave the Diver is nominated for Best Indie, and it's led to Jeff Keighley copping some flack. Many argue that the game should be ineligible for this category, but Jeff is less than concerned. Speaking to a Q&A he hosted on Twitch, Jeff responded to a question on the matter with this, quote, "Independent can mean different things to different people, and it's sort of a broad term, right? I mean, you could argue, does independent mean the budget of the game? Does independent mean where the source of the financing was? Is it based on team size? Is it the kind of independent spirit of a game, meaning kind of a smaller game that's different? Everyone has their own opinion about this, and we really defer to our jury, 120 global media outlets that vote on these awards to kind of make that determination of if something is independent or not," end quote. So on the one hand, I kind of get where Jeff's coming from. I mean, I've certainly called Dave the Diver an indie to this point because there's really no other label for it. And whenever this question does pop up, there's no quick answer. This is an unsolved problem that hasn't really needed a solution because it doesn't really matter what labels we slap on games when we're talking about them. But it does matter in the case of an award. And Jeff, as the convener of those awards, now has to take this unsolved problem and solve it. He can't simply leave it to the judges panel to do that. Hopefully next year there's a stricter framework in place that separates games like Dave the Diver out from truly self-published titles like Lethal Company, Sea of Stars, Pizza Tower, etc., while also creating a space for these smaller games published by established publishers to be recognized. As a perfect example of how amorphous this indie category is, let's turn our attention to another indie title, Cyberpunk 2077. If for whatever reason you still haven't played through it, then good news, there's more stuff on the way. We kind of assumed that patch 2.0 would be the very last content update for the game, but I guess we
I
assumed
thought so
wrong,
too. What the
because
fuck,
this week,
man?
CD
Stop
Projekt
releasing
announced that
updates.
in addition to
Just
the Ultimate
wait for the
Edition
next
launching
game.
This week, patch 2.1 will
Jesus
deploy
fucking
featuring
Christ.
all sorts of unexpected goodies. What's in store? Well, firstly, a functional metro system. That's something that people have long wanted, to the point where modders put it in the game a long time ago. Now it'll be an officially supported feature, resulting in a more immersive fast travel experience. There's also new hangout spots where you can take your companions to just hang out. There's a new radio feature that lets the song keep
Look at
playing
each
even
other's
after
dicks.
you get out of your vehicle. There's new motorcycles, new motorcycle combat, chance to replay previous racing missions, and tons more. None of this is game changing, of course, but it is game enlarging, and it does make you wonder if CD Projekt Red are sneakily working on other improvements for Cyberpunk.
New Game
along with their
Plus,
other
come
projects.
on,
What are those other
please.
projects? Well, it's
Increase
Cyberpunk
level
2
cap.
and The Witcher 4, of
I wanna
course,
max
and
out
this
all
week
my
we learned that roughly
skills.
50% of CD Projekt Red's workforce are currently working on The Witcher 4. We didn't know that they were working on it, of course, but that resource allocation is a genuine surprise. That means it's well and truly in full production, and it's likely to be their next major release. While we're waiting for that though, it may interest you to learn that CD Projekt Red recently announced that they were developing official modding tools for The Witcher 3. There have, of course, always been mods for The Witcher 3 since the game originally released. How else do you get naked Geralt and Yennefer doing the dirty on the back of a unicorn? Wait, that was real? Anyway, the mod tools make the act of modding the game significantly easier, opening up to a whole new category of modders while also improving the overall quality of most mods. Given what we've seen with the likes of Bethesda games, I think we can very much expect to see entire expansions spun up, or The Witcher 1 and 2 remade in The Witcher 3. Let's hope CD Projekt Red don't pull a Rockstar and copyright those, as CD Projekt Red are themselves working on a remake for The Witcher 1. Sticking with generation-defining RPGs for a moment longer, this week Baldur's Gate 3 studio Larian did the unthinkable. They actually finished Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little, but let's take a step back. Baldur's Gate 3 is, of course,
man, this
a
the
masterpiece.
PS5
130
port
hours of
sucks.
best written characters, best...
No, the fucking PS5 port sucks, man. They gotta fix that, the inventory, the character combat ability wheels. That shit is so ass on PS5, and the performance to it fucking sucks. I'm so mad he didn't talk about the console. Nobody talked about the... Well, people talked about the console performance, but nobody's talking about, like people are doing like update videos on this new Baldur's Gate patch, all the things you missed in the new update. Come jump back in the game and check it out. And it's all for PC. Every single video is for PC. Nobody's playing on PS5. Nobody's doing videos on PS5. So I don't know exactly what the performance is being fixed on PS5 because the patch notes don't explicitly say so. They're just gonna be extremely fucking vague. I might have to go back to Baldur's Gate in another year or so. They gotta fix that shit.
Presentation, most flexible combat sandbox, and most reactive world you'll find in any RPG. Despite this, more than a few people were left feeling unsatisfied by Baldur's Gate 3's ending. After the final battle is done, there's a small cutscene that sort of farewells each of your remaining party members, but it doesn't do that thing that most great RPGs do, where there's a moment to sit with your party and truly reflect on all you've accomplished. This week, Larian gave everybody exactly that. The Withers Epilogue is a new sequence that rolls out at the end of the game, and it's basically just a party. A night of merriment with your companions where you get the chance to spend one last night with them. It's not small either. Just the epilogue alone has over 3,500 lines of new dialogue, obviously accounting for all the potential decisions you might have made along the way, either with or for your companions. It follows updates to Karlach's epilogue, as well as the promise of more epilogue content in the future. Personally, I did feel like Baldur's Gate 3 wrapped things up well enough because I was more invested in the character quest lines than the epilogue stuff. But if Larian are gonna give me one last date with my broody goth girlfriend, then I ain't gonna say no. Switching gears, Destiny 2 is certainly going through it right now. They just had a new season launch, but you'd barely know it as the chatter surrounding the game has died down significantly, owing to a general sense that Destiny just isn't in great shape. The game just had its worst ever month in terms of concurrent player counts, and things are unlikely to improve anytime soon since the seasonal model is currently only really delivering more of the same, more than the wholesale renovation that the game is in need of. Don't worry though, Bungie came up with a fantastic stopgap solution that's sure to win new players, welcome back existing players, and create the sort of positive sentiment that's sure to get Destiny some much needed positive press.
Let's go.
What's that solution, you ask? Why, it's selling absolute garbage for $15 while labeling it a starter bundle. This thing appeared on the storefront the same day the new season went live, and it contains a handful of like C-tier exotics that are anything but essential in the current meta, some cosmetics for your Sparrow and Ghost, as well as some basic ass currency that you can earn in just like a few hours of play if you know what you're doing. The fact that this bundle exists as something purchasable is straight up shameful, since this is honestly the sort of thing I'd expect to get from a Twitch drop or something. But the fact that it's $15 is truly beyond the pale. Even worse, imagine positioning this as your starter bundle. New players will have seen this and thought, huh, guess I need that to start playing Destiny, only to find out like 45 minutes after playing that Bungie has absolutely scammed them. Bungie has long been talking about making changes to the new player onboarding experience, but we had no idea that this is what they were talking about. It's a move that is quintessential Bungie, something that I've spoken about in almost every major piece of Destiny content I've ever done. They are the absolute masters of taking a blowtorch to their own goodwill, making boneheaded, profit-driven decisions that keep the conversation focused on how badly Bungie treats their customers, rather than focus on how good their actual game is. Anyway, this is one of the rare instances where Bungie actually backed down, removing the item from sale and posting up a ooh whoopsie tweet. It's nice to imagine that they've learned their lesson here, but I can promise you one thing, Bungie will never ever learn this lesson, and there's only a matter of time before Bungie's monetization team strikes again. Destiny 2 may be struggling, but if there's one live service that continues to go from strength to strength, it's Fortnite. The recent OG season saw their highest ever player count, 100 million players in a single month, a truly staggering number for a company that apparently isn't profitable and needs to lay off staff. The commercial stuff aside, I think it's important that we celebrate what Fortnite is and continues to be, because a bunch of extraordinarily talented developers work on it, and the results are often breathtaking. I mean, even I reinstalled so I could play that Big Bang event they just had, a really remarkable feat of game making that's basically an interactive trailer, but the technology that powers it, the scope it achieves, the different genres it reaches across, it's genuinely humbling to experience it for yourself. Much of the Big Bang was centered on what comes next for Fortnite, and it isn't just a new map and a Slim Shady cameo, cool as that is. It's actually a series of 3 all-new games made with Unreal in Fortnite, Epic's new game-making toolset that turns Fortnite into something like Roblox. These 3 games aren't project fans either, they're made by dedicated studios, and they even have brand tie-ins. Take the new LEGO experience, for example. It was made in collaboration with the LEGO company, and it's basically a lovingly recreated battle royale experience, but with LEGO characters, LEGO weapons, LEGO structures, LEGO everything. Like everything LEGO related, you can't but smile when you see it, and it's clear just how much love has gone into this thing. Next up is Rocket Racing, which is an all-new original racing experience made by none other than Psyonix, makers of Rocket League. It features cars that can jump, dodge, drive on the ceiling, and even give other cars not so gentle love taps. It looks cool, and it's from Psyonix. That is literally the first new game that they've made since Rocket League, so that's worth checking out for that reason alone. Finally, the biggest surprise is Fortnite Festival. It's an all-new music experience made by Harmonix, the people behind Rock Band back in the day. Epic bought this company a little while ago, and now we see what they've been working on. It's a rhythm game focused on group play, licensed music, and concert events. All those concert experiences in Fortnite were clearly a warm-up round for this, but to be perfectly honest, I'm just glad Harmonix is still around to make stuff, because it was real touch and go with them for a while. These 3 new games will all be free to play and will launch later this week. They're all playable in the Fortnite client. It's just so impressive. We make fun of Fortnite, and it's important that we continue to do that. But jokes aside, it is a pretty incredible platform, and I'm always pretty blown away when I check in to see just how much Epic have achieved with it. Meanwhile, it still takes like 30 seconds for a screen to load on the Epic Game Store when you click on anything, so if you could maybe direct a few more development dollars that way, I think that'd be swell. Speaking of platforms, time for some platform news. Sony just gave us a stark reminder of the fact that when it comes to digital ownership, we don't own shit. We're just renting a license until such time as the license holder wants to revoke it. Case in point, making those purchases while refusing to compensate the people who paid for them, and these people paid for them under the assumption that they would own them forever. Is there a more perfect warning sign for what's to come in the impending all-digital future? The subscription model folds into this, but in a slightly different way, since we at least know we definitely don't own anything there. Obviously, Game Pass is the biggest gaming subscription in town, but according to Xbox, it's not big enough, and they want Game Pass on every single screen, including Sony stuff and Nintendo handhelds. To be honest, the comments aren't all that new or interesting, but for whatever reason they got picked up and did the rounds last week when Microsoft CFO Tim Stewart said during an investor briefing that he would want to see Game Pass on basically any screen that can play it, including competitive platforms. Like I said, this did the rounds and people were like, oh, are Xbox planning on bringing Game Pass to Switch? It's kind of a lazy headline because of course Microsoft would like to do that. They've said as much many times over the years, since they would obviously benefit from having their subscription service accessible on rival platforms. But are there specific plans for this? No, and Phil Spencer said as much in a recent interview with Windows Central, quote, "I'll start by saying we have no plans to bring Game Pass to PlayStation or Nintendo. It's not in our plans," end quote. He'd go on to talk about how hardware is still very important to Microsoft. It's not all just about Game Pass. But yeah, there are no plans at the moment for Game Pass to arrive on a Nintendo Switch 2, for example, as cool as that would be. So Microsoft aren't planning for Game Pass on the Switch, but they are planning to have a mobile storefront on both Android and iOS devices. So that's a little complicated and we need to go back a bit. During the Activision Blizzard acquisition legal battle, documents revealed that Microsoft were very much planning to one day launch their own mobile storefront, similar to the Google Play Store on Android devices and the App Store on Apple devices. Your first response to that is likely to be, wait, that's illegal. But it's not, it's just that Google and Apple currently maintain a monopoly on the most widely used mobile devices, prohibiting the installation of competing storefronts. That is slowly changing, however, as a number of recent legal battles have forced both Google and Apple to loosen their iron grip, laying the foundations for a day when these companies will be forced to allow other competing storefronts to be installed on their devices. That day hasn't arrived yet, but Microsoft are betting big that it one day will, and recently have reiterated their plans for a mobile storefront that will allow them to sell apps and games directly to consumers, bypassing the 30% cut taken by Apple and Google. Microsoft is so far along in their planning that Phil Spencer has recently said that they've begun talking to external partners about it, a sure sign that this is a hell of a lot more than just a thought bubble in an email. This push is crucial for Microsoft, since the recent Activision Blizzard King acquisition was in large part about the acquisition of King, one of the largest and most successful mobile games publishers. If Microsoft can connect directly with that audience without having to pay Apple or Google a 30% cut for in-game transactions, then that is a move that will result in hundreds of billions of additional revenue over the coming years, and you can bet Phil Spencer is going to pull out all the stops to get it done. Alrighty, time for a seriously chunky lightning round, so hold on to your butts. Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree expansion is progressing well, but don't expect it anytime soon. That's according to FromSoft producer Yasuhiro Kitao, who when speaking at an award ceremony in Japan went out of his way to quash rumors that the expansion was just around the corner. Those rumors were aspirationally hinting at a February release that always seemed ambitious but now looks wholly unlikely. Square Enix shared some high-level details about the Final Fantasy XVI DLCs currently in development. Game director Takai-san said, quote, "The 2 DLC episodes will dive further into the world of Final Fantasy XVI, where you can experience the dark and mysterious parts of Clive's story. We've also added more formidable bosses and battle content that you can enjoy. We hope you look forward to it," end quote. I love how Japanese developers always say that at the end of stuff. It's very endearing. From some good Final Fantasy news to some bad, Final Fantasy Tactics game director Yasumi Matsuno has dashed any hopes for a Tactics remaster. Speaking on Twitter, he said, quote, "Currently there are no plans for remastering. Also, you have to convey your request to Square Enix, not me. Thank you for understanding," end quote. Pouring out for Tactics fans, I guess. They've been through so much and it seems like their suffering will only continue. This week, the ghoulish Embracer Group continued their warpath of layoffs. Their latest victims, New World Interactive, the team behind the critically acclaimed and moderately successful Insurgency Sandstorm. Embracer Group confirmed to GamesIndustry.biz that a number of people have been let go as part of what they're calling a restructure, but they weren't specific about how many jobs were affected. Embracer Group said that support for Insurgency will continue, as will work on other unannounced projects, but to be honest, it's kind of hard to trust anything these people say. Case in point, Embracer Group looked to be following through on a threat to shut down Free Radical Design, the studio working to reboot the Time Splitters franchise. VGC reported that people close to the matter had seen a company-wide email confirming that the shutdown would happen, but Embracer Group then responded to GamesIndustry.biz saying that no such email was sent out and that no statement had been released in relation to the decision. Would be very surprised if VGC got the story that wrong, and I fully expect we'll hear confirmation on the studio's closure very soon. Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin apparently flopped. The publicly traded Frontier Developments issued a trading update citing poor sales, causing their stock to tank some 20%. The title met fairly middling reviews and only peaked at 1,500 concurrent players on Steam, so this does indeed look like the disappointing launch that any studio fears. Unclear what this means for the future of the game and or studio. Bayonetta creator Hideki Kamiya is opening up after leaving Platinum Games, and he's got some interesting things to say about where Bayonetta might have gone under his leadership. Quote, "The Bayonetta series would consist of a total of 9 episodes, and I wanted to grow the franchise as the Bayonetta saga, but it seems like I might have to take the whole saga to the grave with me," end quote. Eesh, a little grim, don't you think? He'd go on to say that he expects Platinum to continue Bayonetta without him, but of course he doesn't know that for sure. After the disastrous cancellation of Hyenas, the free-to-play competitive shooter that never saw the light of day, Sega say Creative Assembly are going back to their roots. Sega boss Haruki Satomi had this to say of Sega's recent aggressive growth strategy, quote, "However, some studios did well and some did not, so we've decided to focus again on the strength of each studio," end quote. With how fractured CA's current relationship with their strategy community is, doubling down in that space and looking to rebuild that trust seems like a very good call. And finally, Capcom have confirmed what we have all long suspected: more Resident Evil remakes are on the way. Speaking during the same Japanese Game Awards I mentioned earlier, RE4 remake director Yasuhiro Unpo spoke about the fact that the remakes had done extremely well for Capcom and that they had no intention of stopping anytime soon. Quote, "What game we will remake in the future is something we would like to announce in the future, so please look forward to it." See? I told you Japanese developers love that line. So what got announced or delayed this week? Well, apart from that little known indie gem, GTA 6, there were some other games announced this week.
Everything's an indie gem.
PC game show.
There's an unknown indie gem you've probably never played.
Long, as all PC game shows are. They are not known for their brevity, though I am certainly one to talk. Regardless, it did have plenty of cool things to show off. Most of it was already announced, but some of it was all new, like Wild Bastards. This is a follow-up from the team who did Void Bastards, a clever and funny first-person roguelike that did well for itself a few years back. This looks to be the same sort of source, only now it's in a sci-fi Wild West setting, which I believe is technically referred to as the Wiki Wild West. Sorry, that was really bad. Anyway, no date for Wild Bastards, but it's arriving in 2024.
We forgive
I think
you.
it looks great, and I'll definitely be checking it out. There were a few other release date announcements that fell out of the PC game show, some of which I'm actually very excited about. Top of my list is Pacific Drive. Hopefully this is on your radar at this point, but if not, it's like a survival game, but it's all about keeping your car running as you make your way across a deeply messed up rendition of the Pacific Northwest. It's got this old-timey, low-tech aesthetic that means your ride is always going to look like a thrown-together heap, but it's your heap, and you got to dance with the one that brung you. I attended a hands-off preview session for this a little while ago, and I was all in. It looked genuinely fantastic, and I'm very glad to know that on February 22nd, we will all be able to play this one. Well, I mean, those of us on PC and PS5 will be able to. Xbox and Nintendo Bros will have to wait a little longer. Homeworld 3 was the other release date that got me a little excited. Played this one a while back. In fact, I've played it twice now, and each time it was excellent. Blackbird Interactive clearly demonstrating a lot of mastery over the source material. After a few prior delays, this one is now confirmed to be arriving on March 8th, exclusive to PC, of course, because man, I really can't imagine how you play Homeworld on a console. That'd be very tricky. Last shout out is for Ultros, a game I profiled recently in my Put This On Your Radar segment. This is now locked in for February 13th, and yeah, I don't know, man.
Watch out, some water's coming down the chimney.
February 13th.
Might have some flooding to clean up.
But we'll talk more about that.
I don't do inside cleaning.
Outside of the PC Game Show, there were some other announcements this week, like the official release date reveal of Dragon's Dogma 2. This one had been earlier leaked, and it turns out that leak was 100% accurate. Dragon's Dogma 2 will launch for current-gen consoles and PC on March 22nd. Sons of the Forest is one I've been holding off for until the early access period was finished, and this week we learned that that's pretty soon. On February 22nd, the game will enter 1.0 after a very positive early access period that already has the title at 96% overwhelmingly positive on Steam.
Shots, there
I've
we
never
go.
actually
Got
played
it.
the first one, so this will be my first foray into the forest. I'm very keen. Taking a step back though, February first one. He has the title at 96% over 1.0 was finished, and this week we learned Sons of the Forest is one I've been holding off for until the early access period was finished, and this week we learned that that's pretty soon. On February 22nd, the game will enter 1.0 after a very positive early access period that already has the title at 96% overwhelmingly positive on Steam. I've never actually played the first one, so this will be my first foray into the forest. I'm very keen. Taking a step back though, February is...
Sons of the Forest? Is it available on the PlayStation Store? Sons of the Forest. The Forest. Nope. When is it finally releasing, you said?
On February 22nd, the game will enter 1.0 after a very positive early access period that already has
February.
the title at 96% over...
Release date February 2023. What the fuck? Oh, I got it wrong. I wasn't paying attention.
overwhelmingly positive on Steam. I've never actually played the first one, so this will be my first foray into the forest. I'm very keen. Taking a step back though, February is a lot. Right now, we already have Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
Helldivers 2, Banishers,
I'm
Mario
hyped for
vs. Donkey Kong,
Helldivers.
Ultros,
Suicide Squad looks like
Thaumaturge,
trash.
Last
Absolute
Epoch,
fucking
Final
trash.
Fantasy VII Rebirth, and there are unconfirmed reports that Skull and Bones will be releasing that month. Though with any potential Skull and Bones release date, we should absolutely take that with a bucket of salt. Publishers, for the last 2 years running, we have done these stacked Februaries, and I would like to remind you that March and April both exist. Please feel free to delay your video games a touch to give us all a little bit of breathing room. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I actually
Thank
left
you.
one game off the Feb list, by the way, and it's the recently delayed Terminator Dark Fate Defiance. Now, this is an RTS set in the Terminator universe, which I think is actually a pretty good setup, and I could totally see that working. It was meant to arrive on PC this week, but at the very last second, the developer announced a delay, and it will now arrive on February 21st. Team said they needed some more time to polish and finish up and whatever, fair enough. Only other delay was one that we well and truly saw coming. Bungie announced that the final shape expansion for Destiny 2 has indeed been delayed to June 4th, confirming earlier reporting from Jason Schreier of Bloomberg. This would make for an unreasonably long final season before the expansion drops, so Bungie are offering up a stopgap, something called Into the Light, which I'm going to guess is going to be some vaulted content brought back, since game director Joe Blackburn has said that this content is intended for both veteran and potential players. No other details about it at this point though. We'll find out more at a later date. So what came out last week? Well, there was that Wizardom game from Apogee, a magic-based boomer shooter with a shareware aesthetic. Only a handful of reviews for this one on Steam, but it's 98% very positive, so that's not bad. No critic reviews for this one yet. I guess people are busy refinishing Baldur's Gate 3 for the new epilogue. Gangs of Sherwood arrived, and it's apparently not very good. Can't say I'm super surprised. I checked out some gameplay for this one, and it kind of reminded me of that Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance game from a little while ago. Not a flattering comparison. This one sits at a mixed 50% on Steam and a weak 63 on OpenCritic. Probably best to wait for this one to hit a subscription service if you're at all interested, especially given that it's intended to be played co-op. The Turok 3 remaster from Night Dive Studios arrived, and it's met a strong reception on Steam, 90% very positive, but critics are a little cooler on it. A few reviews calling out that the visual uplift here wasn't as profound as it was on the previous entries. Regardless, it's still a very solid remaster, and inarguably the best way to enjoy this game in 2023. The same cannot be said of the Batman Arkham Trilogy Switch port. Last week, I half-joked that we'd never seen a bad Arkham port, referencing the famous Arkham Knight PC port, which was so bad that it was eventually temporarily delisted from sale and went on to become the gold standard for how to absolutely balk the PC porting process. The Nintendo Switch port of the Arkham Trilogy isn't that bad, thankfully, but it ain't great either. The ever-reliable Digital Foundry weighed in on the matter, tweeting out a snippet of Arkham Knight gameplay and saying, quote, "Arkham Knight on Switch is unacceptable. Terrible performance, poor visual quality, and game-breaking glitches. I'll have a video on it and other Arkham ports next week."
Let's go.
I mean, I kind of get it because Arkham Knight was always a looker, so I had no idea how they were going to squeeze that onto the Switch. But if you can't do it, then don't sell it. If, however, you are keen to experience this on a handheld, then the Steam Deck runs it beautifully, plus, you know, plays a lot of other stuff beautifully as well. Great machine. God bless the Steam Deck. Speaking of
I
Steam,
want a Steam Deck OLED
World
so
Build
bad.
arrived on all platforms on the 1st.
I gotta get
It's got a
one.
fairly rosy reception. On Steam, it's sitting at a mostly positive 77%, while critics have it at exactly the same, a strong 77 on OpenCritic. IGN scored it a 7, saying, quote, SteamWorld Build is a simple but fun city builder cleverly combined with a dungeon constructing miner that keeps things quick and casual, end quote. Only other release this week was Hawked, a Fortnite-inspired free-to-play extraction shooter that's looking to offer a more approachable take on the genre. No critic reviews for this one yet, as it's only an early access release, but Steam reviews have been none too kind, with the title currently sitting at a mixed 44%. Negative reviews point to some sloppy gameplay, a weak version of the extraction model without the necessary stakes, plenty of bugs, and a cash shop that is clearly taking the piss, as most free-to-play cash shops do. These sorts of games usually take a long time to build, but these days they're more likely to die on the vine than flourish. Hopefully this doesn't end up in the cancelled live services block of this very show anytime soon. Alrighty, so what's coming out this
Gutter.
week?
How much
Well,
of a
welcome
fucking
to
gutter
the
do I have
last
to
big
clean?
week of 2023.
How dirty is that
It's actually
shit?
surprisingly big, as a few additions and delays snuck in at the last minute to make for a truly stacked finish to what was one of the most stacked years in gaming history. Kicking us off is that Cyberpunk Ultimate Edition, which arrived on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC today, including that sneaky update patch 2.1 as well. A Highland Song is one I've had my eye on for a little while, namely because it comes from the same studio that produced 80 Days, a really wonderful narrative game on mobile, which is obviously crazy because who makes narrative games on mobile? Highland Song continues in that narrative tradition, but it has actual visuals as opposed to just text, and they look really nice. It's got platforming and climbing, and there's this whole music thing going on. It looks really lovely, and given the pedigree of the studio, I definitely think it's worth checking out. It hits Switch and PC on the 5th. Disney Dreamlight Valley is a town life game starring Disney characters that had a fairly successful early access period and is hitting 1.0 today on all platforms. It was meant to go free to play upon its 1.0 release, but that plan changed, and it's now a premium title that still has microtransactions. So if you are buying this one for your little one, then make sure your account is purchase password protected. Skater XL has been out on other platforms for donkey's years, but today it arrives for the Nintendo Switch. Sonic Dream Team is that very cool looking all new Sonic title, which is rather bizarrely exclusive to Apple iOS as part of their Apple Arcade service. I'm sure it will eventually come to other platforms, but yeah, it seems a very strange move for Sega given how central Sonic is to their overall reach and relevance. I do have an Apple Arcade subscription, so I'll be checking this out this week while I'm traveling. I'll let you know how it goes. The Anacrusis is a 4-player co-op shooter from some of the people who made Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. This one's a similar deal, only it's aliens instead of zombies, and it's set aboard a space station instead of, random terrestrial settings. This has been in early access since January of last year, but I feel like it really hasn't made much of a splash. Maybe that changes when the game goes into 1.0 today, exclusive to PC and Xbox for now, and it doesn't appear to be on Game Pass. It was at one point, but it's since been removed. I'm unsure if it'll ever come back. Lord of the Rings Return to Moria arrived for Xbox and PC last month, and today it arrives for PS5. It's meant to be not great, it's like okay, but if you've really got a hankering for some dwarven rock beating, then you should play Deep Rock Galactic. But if you really need your Lord of the Rings fix, then yeah, I guess you're going to have to. One of the most promising but worst marketed releases this week is Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. I say promising because it's Owlcat, the team behind the excellent Pathfinder games, and I say worst marketed because I swear to God I haven't seen a single bit of marketing for this, and it's out this week. It's a shame because all the previews to this point have been glowing, and this is a CRPG from an experienced CRPG team at a time when people are thirsty for more CRPGs. This is a self-published title, so I'm going to guess Owlcat put their money in development rather than in billboards and press kits, but I really hope the word gets out on this one since it definitely deserves to be on people's radar. That is, assuming of course that the final product lives up to those encouraging previews. This one is hitting all platforms bar the Switch on the 7th.
Hey guys, Austin here. Thought I'd slide in to cover this next release, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. So I've played and finished this, and you know what? I loved it. My high-level thoughts are that this is a game with an okay story and decent combat, but its real shining star is Pandora. I know we all just saw the GTA 6 trailer, but this is absolutely one of the most spectacular natural environments.
What do you mean, bro? Gameplay's mid, story's mid, but the world is beautiful. It's a video game. God, these fucking reviewers suck, man. Jesus Christ. The fucking gameplay is extremely mid. God.
The Grand Theft Auto 6 reveal was as big as I think a lot of us expected it to be. Now, in terms of the actual contents of the trailer, the 90 seconds, that even took me by surprise, and I think almost everybody, just because of how much it showed about the narrative and really what Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to offer to us. Now, as you can see, the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer became the third most viewed YouTube video in 24 hours with 90 million plus views. I think the top one is like a BTS video, which had over 100 million. But I think that in terms of non-music videos, Grand Theft Auto 6 now holds the record. It has like over 7 million likes. It's just insane, the hype, the anticipation, the conversation that's surrounding this game. And with the game so hotly anticipated, we are seeing a lot of reactions, some of which are turning a little hostile, and it's just honestly insane, some of the things that people are saying about this game. But I do want to acknowledge that for the most part, the Grand Theft Auto community has been blown away by this. Yeah, the community sentiment is we are so back, and
We're so
unfortunately we
fucking
may
back.
be so back right now, but Rockstar is probably going to go silent for the next 7 or 8 months until we see that next trailer 2. Who knows when that'll be? Maybe summertime, maybe the fall time.
It's clear, there's a lot of bird shit here,
Red Dead
goddamn.
Redemption 2's first trailer, and the second one, it was like 10 or 11 months, so could be in for a long wait with Grand Theft Auto 6, but it's just nice to finally have something, as this game has been endlessly speculated, rumored about for the last who knows how many years. Now, again, the reactions have been pouring in on social media. I guess some people have an issue with Lucia's appearance. Rockstar was like, GTA 6 is ready now, just completely crap up. The funny part about this image specifically is that this isn't even a real image. This is like something that somebody else created based on the leaks. And this, I mean, Lucia doesn't look very different than what we saw in the leaks, even though those weren't like high definition videos. And again, those were like pre-alpha development footage that was never supposed to be made public. But yeah, this was like some CGI thing that some artist made up. Never was real. And yeah, this individual saying Mexican bros, they turned to Brazilian. Make of that as you will. And then some people again just upset that a Grand Theft Auto game is taking place in America, which I just genuinely think a lot of people do not understand this franchise. And as we go through this video, you're going to get that sentiment or that feeling a lot more. This individual saying, so basically this is a sequel to Vice City. They just went back to Miami. I guess the US only has a few cities that you can do this game in, and they already did LA and New York. Grand Theft Auto is a global game, but keeping it or being US centric. There's a number of cities with stories you could have set the game in: Mexico City, Seoul, London, Mumbai. But no, we went back to Miami, stuck. And the thing is, Grand Theft Auto, I think, one time went outside of the US, and that was, I think, one of the earlier games with London. And they've never done it since, because a lot of the stereotypes, a lot of stuff that Grand Theft Auto is about, it's America. These cities, Liberty City, New York, Los Santos is largely California, Los Angeles, and now obviously Miami is Vice City. It kind of just works with those places.
Motherfuckers talking about the next game should be in Cuba.
In terms of location.
What, bro?
I guarantee it probably would be another US-based city or
something. Fuck, is this Far Cry?
That is, inspired by a US city. Maybe it'll have a combination of something, but that's conversation for 15 or so years. But yes, Grand Theft Auto is based on America. This isn't a shocking thing. We did see another individual saying that it's tiresome that there's a lot of black people, I guess, in Miami. I guess that's a takeaway that a lot of people have. Not really.
That's definitely a take.
There's a lot of
it's definitely an opinion.
It is what it is. Also, it's just a trailer, and it's NPCs. I don't really see the point about this, but yeah, some people, I guess, upset about that. There's two coins of this. There's some people wanting less black people, and then there's some that are upset about the black culture that's represented here. And I mean, Rockstar is going to make fun of all stereotypes, and I really hope that they hold true to that, because that's what makes a lot of their games so funny, and makes the satire work. And then this was another big thing. People are upset that a rated M game, we need to ban GTA 6. Children should not be playing this game. And they point out the girl who's twerking on the back of a car. Gotta give props to Rockstar with those ass physics. I think they also have some other physics for body parts and hair and whatnot, but props to them. The animator who probably spent weeks on this, but children shouldn't be playing this. I mean, there's no reason why a 7 or 8 year old should be playing that, and that's up to their parent. And then this individual, known to be a grifter on social media, I was offered to be a GTA 6. I can't speak much about it, but like you, I was disgusted by the level of degenerate filth in the trailer, so I told Rockstar to F off. And a world plagued by only blah 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 blah. Rockstar finds God and bans GTA 6. This was the individual that got this actually trending on Twitter. I genuinely don't understand this account, but he has quite the following. I think over 1 million followers. And he continued, "Why are the Zionists at Rockstar?" He's just making this up too. There's nothing. Rockstar doesn't. This doesn't even make any sense.
98% clean. What am I missing?
This is a sexualized
There's
video
something,
game for
probably some on the.
that
Oh,
in America.
gutter.
Again, it's sold for mature audiences.
Oh, we got a
And
roof up
thank
there. We
God
got
for
that gutter.
Canadian, you know, it's pointing that out. As you can see, he was trying to get it trending, and then he used a mod to try to prove that Rockstar doesn't.
This gutter here too.
Trying to make this a political topic for his followers because the grift has to continue on. The Israeli flag is a downloadable mod created by an individual, not Rockstar Games, and yeah, he continued with that, and then here it is. So like I said, some of these people
Community
very
notes,
clownish
get 'em.
takes. We did also see this drama alert. Keemstar, I guess his news team just making up a fake rumor, which is now going wild on social media, which never made any sense, especially because there's been some leaks indicating that Lucia may or did have a child, so she's definitely not trans. She definitely is a female. And yeah, his source that he tried to use for this post was a random Reddit post from over a year ago. Jesus, the engagement bait on this website. We did see also this. This is another big thing that Elon Musk responded to Grand Theft Auto saying, "I tried it but didn't like doing crime. Grand Theft Auto 5 required shooting police officers in the opening scene. Just couldn't do it." And then Ian Miles Chang, another big grifter on the social media site,
Where the fuck is it?
decided to chime in saying, "I'm glad shooting cops in Cyberpunk
There's like little
2077
dots
is
up there.
completely optional. Never finished GTA 5 either." And then he just got absolutely violated
Fashy as
by
this
his
little
community
thing.
notes. He has written up to 255 GameRanks articles covering GTA 5, including descriptions of personally killing or evading virtual police in the game's single-player mode. There's multiple links. If you didn't know, Ian Miles Chang, when he's not complaining about U.S. politics on social media, he used to be a games editor for GamesRank years ago. And like I said, he's trying to suck up to Elon here. But like I said, also this take right here, playing a Grand Theft Auto game not expecting to commit crime is just bizarre to me. But he could be trolling, to be fair. And we did see a political account chiming into this GTA 6 trans fake news that's been spread around. And thank God, again, community notes here jumping in. But it's not going to be true, unfortunately. There's not going to be a conversation about this because it doesn't even make any sense and it was never rumored. But we also did see the Tate brothers chiming in about video game violence because, of course, Jack Thompson he's got that thumbs up going on right now with all the conversation about violence in video games, which seems to keep popping up as of late. This is what the Tate brothers had to say about Grand Theft Auto 6, and just gives me a headache.
Video games aren't necessarily evil. But, you know, I remember when video games, because I'm very old. I'm an old man. I remember when you used to play a little man in a red hat.
Fucking boomer, shut the fuck up. Stop right there.
And teaming up with your brother. Now, if rescuing purity from evil while teaming up for your brother isn't a good theme of a video game, then I don't really know what is. I'm not a fan of anyone under the age of 18, 21 maybe, playing video games where the goal is to shoot police officers. I just don't think that's good for society. With all the amazing graphics and engines and whatever people put into these video games, I feel like you could create a better objective with the game, you know? Maybe you are the police
behind
officer.
the gutter.
Maybe you are trying to stop sorry,
I didn't get that one.
criminals. Sorry? Okay.
Just it doesn't even need to be said anymore about this take. It's really just bizarre in my opinion, especially the Tate brothers being the ones to say something like this. Just kind of insane to me. But yeah, violence in video games and stuff.
We don't kill cops. We only pay them.
Cannot go away.
To get away with crime.
Politicians love to keep bringing up.
We give them money.
For all the tragic stuff that happens in the world, and then we have individuals like this that kind of just put video games in one corner, saying that it's all about shooting police officers when that's really not the goal of a lot of these games.
Ball? Oh shit.
Anyway, video games is an art form that should be respected, but unfortunately it just gets grouped into a certain category by a lot of these individuals that seemingly have not touched a video game in decades or centuries.
Oh, there's something in that
But,
window.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6, the controversy surrounding this game has already begun. It's been going on for a while now.
I wanna
especially
look
in
up
terms
there.
of it being woke, or supposedly.
Better be a
we had the
peeping
Gamer
Tom.
published this article earlier this year. Grand Theft Auto 6 could go woke. Cry about it. Like I said, this is going to be a minefield once this releases, I imagine, in terms of what this game achieves or does. We'll see what happens. I do have my concerns, especially on the narrative side, and wondering whether Rockstar Games really can hold things together, because there has been rumors, there has been leaks, and some inside accounts reporting that Rockstar Games is going to be a little softer in terms of how they handle certain subjects, and a lot of people wonder what that exactly is going to entail in terms of the satire in the world. It did look good in the trailer, but who knows, you know, until we see the final product. And then we talked about this last video. The trailer, again, did spark backlash. We saw a lot of people, some people were upset about Lucia having to play as a female protagonist. That's been a conversation for a long time. And then we got the journalist takes. Oh my gosh. This one actually aligns with what the Tate brothers were saying. We had GG Recon, I believe it was a gaming website too. Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer could be hiding a problematic first-person mode. Oh boy, they go on, and this is what they have to say. The problem is, given current climates, a first-person mode could be pretty problematic depending on who we're playing as. The GTA 6 trailer didn't give us any actual gameplay. However, fans were drawn at the moment we saw a police raid. Here, it looks like we get a body cam footage that is reminiscent of that controversial game called Unrecord, with some questioning how GTA will handle its police in the aftermath of the George Floyd incident. What is that? No, that has nothing to do with this. It sparked the debate of what first-person GTA 6 will be like, and that was not something that I at all thought about with that very short clip, which seemed to be something from like maybe a social media element of the game, because it does seem like Rockstar's leaning heavily into parodying social media in Grand Theft Auto 6. Very curious to see how they'll go about that, making it an interesting system for us to explore and such. But this was not something that was at all discussed, and it really is not problematic at all. Even if there are body cams in the game,
there wooden trims
it'd actually be really cool to see how they could handle it.
Probably just up there.
Yeah, they just show a very random tweet.
Pose.
Although it's hard to judge, the realism of GTA 6 could push it to be one of the most advanced video games of all time. With that in mind, some are worried it may be too realistic. That's not a worry. And then we did see this, of course, these outlets that were right at Rockstar Games' throat with Grand Theft Auto 5, making sure they're at their throat once again with Grand Theft Auto 6. And Pink News, GTA 6 has a chance to fix the franchise's terrible record on representation. Goes on, Grand Theft Auto's historic lack of inclusivity for the LGBT community has been a source of controversy, with past games marred by serious and offensive missteps, which Rockstar will need to work hard to make up for with GTA 6 if they hope to regain the trust of the community. They go on, but despite that, the game series has suffered from a damning lack of inclusivity and preponderance of offensive stereotypes, leaving the franchise's legions of fans out in the cold. And they make a big point about the Ballad of Gay Tony and how it was an offensive DLC, problematic, and I'm not even going to dive into that can of worms, because I think it actually is probably the most iconic iconic LGBT character in all of gaming. I personally think so. I could be not remembering certain characters, but I really do think Gay Tony is the most iconic character of this. And I guess this article goes on trying to say how it's pointing that it's problematic, I suppose. Sorry, I'm at a loss of words with the stupidity of some of the points that are trying to be pushed here. And then we had this one, upset about Grand Theft Auto 5's exploration of Trevor's, who he was. It was problematic, I guess. And then Grand Theft Auto's history of representation, and goes on and on. Just ridiculous stuff, in my opinion. And then we had another article, Grand Theft Auto 6, does the world really need another sequel? This one another Jesus Christ moment. There's still a place for the bloody, often deeply misogynistic, anti-that work and that worldview perpetuated by GTA in 2023. We're post-GG, post-Me Too, we're still talking about this stuff, and yet women are still struggling to be seen or heard within the games industry. Violence against women, blah, 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 continues to dominate global headlines. It doesn't feel like the gaming world has necessarily become a more acceptable
where the fuck is this shit?
At the AAA level.
Where's the goddamn wooden trim?
The games industry has become a lot more diverse and inclusive. I think everybody can admit that. Obviously, some are going to be very upset about that, but it has changed drastically in the last 10 or so years. And if you're asking certain people, they'd probably say it's for the worse. Some would say for the better. But I love this ignorance that people like to view this gaming industry, that it's just made zero progress. Let's stop lying here. Especially with Grand Theft Auto, as they removed a lot of those problematic elements from Grand Theft Auto 5 last year. And that is certainly a reaction to individuals writing articles like this. And then the last big article we have about this
there's nothing glowing.
Another hit piece. GTA 6 cannot be saved by a female lead. Oh boy, the arrival of main character Lucia in the leaked trailer may excite some fans, but we shouldn't be fooled by Rockstar's transparent virtue signaling. Oh boy. So yeah, virtue signaling with a female lead, despite, I think it was Dan Houser like 10 or so years ago saying that there hadn't been a female lead protagonist in recent years for a Grand Theft Auto game, because of the fact that they just didn't have a story written for it. And now they do, and I guess this is now a virtual signal. This is big news for GTA, a franchise constructed mainly on fantasies of dominant masculinity, in which women, as the journalist Helen Lewis put it back in 2013, are wallpaper, whereas the gaming critic Caroline Pettit put it more explicitly in her GameSpot review of GTA 5. Strippers, that, long-suffering wives, humorless girlfriends, and goofy, new-age feminists we're meant to laugh at. But don't be fooled by Rockstar's virtue signaling. Lucia, the new lead character in GTA 6, can't change the fundamentals of a game that has previously been so blasé about its disregard for women. I cannot roll my eyes harder with that take. They go on. In GTA, women are not only pigeonholed into wallpaper roles, but treated appallingly. In GTA 5, there's a mission that involves the player helping a paparazzo upskirt a female celebrity, driving the Los Santos Hills listening to music.
Oh yeah, did that mission.
There's an interruption on the radio in which a man talks about using a woman as a that. Come on, that's just the stupid satire radio conversations. There's so much ridiculous shit in these radio stations with men in it. Jesus, we're nitpicking right now. Players are encouraged to buy and run strip clubs.
Times 4? Holy shit, I gotta do more?
Working women are everywhere, and visiting one boosts your health score, but naturally you have to pay them, which is a definite minus. I love this one. This one is cherry picking quite a bit. Easily fixed though on GTAforums.com. I find the helpful suggestion. I would love to know how they found this. They had to carefully look up this one. Pick up the hoe and drive the beach right near the sea, and she will do her business. She will boost your health to 150 when she gets out off her, unalive her, and get your money back. This is just so random. Like, okay, that isn't proving anything. People do horrific things to all of the NPCs. There's a conversation we had to have years ago with I think it was a female character in Red Dead Redemption 2, in which a lot of controversial articles like this popped up about people doing horrible things to her. It's an NPC. People will do that. That's how these games are played. And you know that beachfront view in
people took black NPCs in Red Dead 2 and kept trying to bring them to the KKK to get a reaction.
That's how these GTA games are played.
They thought they thought Rockstar programmed the KKK to hang the black NPCs.
Depraved behavior. GTA also got in trouble in 2006 due to a racially specific altercation in which the player is told by another character to kill don't remember that one, but I was pretty young. If the arrival of Lucia shows that women can do that too, it's only because Rockstar knew it had to tick a box. And allegory or not, GTA remains that to its core, that ist that they love to throw around. I don't think it comes as a surprise to anybody watching this video, but Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be controversial. It's going to upset people, and I hope and I think that Rockstar Games understands that, and I hope that they do not shy away from all of the madness that we hope this game has. Grand Theft Auto has a reputation of leaning into stereotypes, all stereotypes, pretty much making fun of everybody and everything, and that should not change with GTA 6, and I hope it doesn't. Anyway, there's all kinds of different reactions right now surrounding this game. A lot of people are worried about a female protagonist that didn't look good. I think Lucia looks amazing, but again,
she's fucking
what do you
hot.
make of GTA 6? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing for a lot more coverage on GTA 6, and I'll see you later.
Man, where the fuck are these wooden shrimps? I don't see any yellow popping up. It's way too bright. Everything looks 100%. I can't see... Even on that wooden shrimp before, I didn't see any, like, progress on it. But I had a lot of shit on it. Is this bugged? Fuck, man. I just want my money. Yeah, I just got this one. Next wooden trim. No wooden trim here. That's the chimney, that'd be dumb. Let me go over here. There's no wooden trims here? What the fuck? You guys gotta put trims on your window. They're gonna fall out. Wooden trim. Oh, these. Forgot about these around the house. Okay. I did get a lot of them. Probably not all, though. Hold on. Yup. Hold on. Wait, is this? Yup. No, I missed something. There we go. 3. Two. Oh, one more. I got the sniper rifle out. I'm coming. Oh. Woo! Holy shit. Got that bitch cleaned up nice. Let's get that house clean. I wish I could show it around the back. Can I rotate? Let's play that again. Oh my god. Oh, so beautiful. I'm so good. Clean, 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 clean. Careful how you go around the volcano. Clean the detached. There was a volcano. What? What the fuck are they talking about? Clean the shoe house. Ooh. That sounds kind of fun. Oh, there's like a whole backyard. Oh my god, the skate park. Oh, fuck. How much money is the next gun? I'm gonna need heavy duty. $2,000. Holy shit. Alright, let's see. Equipment. I already got the professional nozzle. Holy shit, I got 11 multi-purpose cleaner. That's pretty good. Bonus jobs, unique cleaning opportunities await. Free play, revisit your favorite jobs and spend as much time as you like thoroughly cleaning them. Wow. Vehicles, or I can just do either vehicles. Oh, vehicles or locations. Okay. different categories of mission. Nice. I gotta get an achievement for the van. I think it was clean the van with only, I forgot what it was. Where is that shit? Okay, I gotta go to the regular. It's fucking, this short trophy menu is ass. Maybe there's a better trophy menu I can get to. Trophies. Here we go. Get 1 gold medal in challenge mode. Where was the thing with the complete the fishing boat? Oh, completely clean the van only using the red nozzle. Equip a new outfit, gloves, and washer modification at the same time. I think I got that already. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, I don't have the washer modification yet. I keep forgetting how to put that on. I don't know how to. What the fuck do you mean? Extension, clothing, gloves. Yeah, there's nothing to customize my washer. Urban X2. Whatever, man. Let's clean the... What are bonus jobs? Clean the Mars rover. That's cute. Clean the mini golf course. Let's do free play. Clean the van. With only the red nozzle. That should be easy. Only the red nozzle? Does it matter? Only using the red nozzle, so I can still use my upgraded gun. A red nozzle. Let's go. Get this done in no time. Wonder if I get extra money for this. I got $7.90. That'd be great if I get extra money for this. I can maybe grind.